Good morning, everyone. Commissioners, Chief McDonald, Executive Director, Mr. Django Sibley, Madam Secretary, Inspector General Matthew Barragan, Mr. City Attorney Carlos de la Guerra, and members of the public. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. It is 9:30 in the morning. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect Commissioners Sanchez, Gordon, Scobin, and Tabor are present, and we have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this morning. All public comment will be heard during item 2 on the agenda. We will dedicate a total of 60 minutes to public comment. Members of the public will have an opportunity to speak. At the request of the speaker, we may give an additional minute. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in public comment portion of the agenda, you can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board, so you are free to express your opinion on the matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with the other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinions shall be deemed off-topic and your public comment period will be concluded. Message to those attending in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act affords the public the opportunity to be present at the meetings, hear the presentations, and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there is a need for the board to carry out public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience shall not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Excuse me. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you will be provided with only one warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and/or removal from the meeting. With that, we will move to item number 1, the report of Police Chief. Chief McDonald, good morning. You may proceed.
Morning, President Sanchez Gordon, Commissioners, Inspector General Barragan, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Executive Director Sibley. Today's report will cover the prior week period. I'll highlight key events, share our current crime stats, and provide an update on our current staffing levels. During the previous week, the department experienced 0 officer-involved shootings. Year to date, we remain at 1 compared to 5 at the same point last year, which is an 80% decrease. On the Middle East conflict, the department is closely monitoring recent military actions and ongoing developments in the Middle East. We remain in continuous communication and coordination with our local, state, and federal partners to ensure we're receiving the most current intelligence and are prepared to respond quickly to any emerging concerns. At this time, there are no credible threats to the City of Los Angeles. Out of an abundance of caution, the department has increased patrol deployments around critical infrastructure sites, cultural institutions, and places of worship throughout the city. These measures are preventative in nature and are intended to provide reassurance to our communities while maintaining a visible public safety presence. We'll continue to monitor the situation closely and adjust our posture as necessary based on intelligence and guidance from our federal partners. We have an airspace restriction. In February of 2025, the Federal Aviation Administration began implementing innovative tools and conducting a nationwide safety review focused on airports with high volumes of mixed helicopter and fixed-wing aircraft traffic. As part of this proactive effort, the FAA introduced additional safety mitigations designed to reduce airspace congestion and enhance overall aviation safety. As a result of this review, the FAA's Western Service Area has restricted certain visual flight rules, or VFR, operations in the airspace surrounding Los Angeles International Airport while evaluations continue. Under these procedures, air traffic controllers will more frequently limit or deny VFR aircraft from entering LAX airspace based on real-time conditions, including the volume and complexity of aircraft operations, weather conditions, and nearby construction or airspace activity. VFR operators navigate primarily by visual reference and must request and receive permission from LAX air traffic control before entering controlled airspace. Most helicopter operations, including those conducted by the Los Angeles Police Department, operate under VFR. These restrictions are not unique to Los Angeles. They're being applied to Class B airports throughout the country as part of the FAA's broader safety initiative. As reported in the LA Times, they focused on the LAPD being restricted from going into that airspace. What it didn't mention is it includes all helicopter traffic, medical, military, fire, any aircrafts that would, or any helicopter traffic that would transverse that area. You had requested protest updates, and I'll give you a list of those here. For the week of February 23rd to March 2nd, the department managed several demonstrations and protest-related events across the city. On February 23rd, approximately 50 to 60 students walked out of Stella Elementary and Middle School Charter Academy. During the incident, a small number of involved students entered a nearby Target and 7-Eleven and took merchandise without paying. The parents of all students involved were notified. Both businesses declined to press charges due to the low value of the items taken. At the request of the stores, parents responded to the location and reimbursed the businesses for the merchandise. There were no injuries to officers or participants, and no arrests were made in connection with the incident. On February 28th, the department managed several organized demonstrations throughout the city. In Topanga Division, an anti-Trump protest took place with approximately 50 to 70 participants and remained peaceful for its duration. At City Hall, a Stop the War in Iran demonstration drew approximately 200 to 300 participants and also remained peaceful. In West Los Angeles, in front of the Federal Building, an additional Iran-related protest drew approximately 600 participants. That event likewise remained peaceful. Across all of these demonstrations, there were no injuries to officers or participants, no force was used, and no arrests were made. On the cargo theft front, on February 24th, Mission Area Patrol officers responded to a burglary in progress radio call and reporting multiple males removing generators from a trailer in the Arleta area. When officers arrived, they located a cold-plated tractor-trailer and detained 3 males who were actively removing Harbor Freight generators and tools from the trailer. Officers notified our Commercial Crimes Division Cargo Theft Task Force, who responded and assumed investigative responsibility. Through their investigation, detectives determined that the tractor-trailer had been picked up by one of the detained individuals from a distribution center on February 12th. The trailer was destined for the Port of Los Angeles for overseas export, but never reached its intended destination. Detectives also received information from a witness indicating the suspects had been moving property into a nearby residence. When detectives responded to that location, they observed Harbor Freight generators in plain view on the front porch. With signed consent to search obtained by from one of the detainees, detectives conducted a search of the residence and recovered additional suspected stolen property, including tools, New Balance shoes, Vitamix blenders, and other electronics. The 3 male suspects were arrested for grand theft cargo and booked at Van Nuys Jail. The estimated value of the recovered property is approximately $228,000. The case will be presented to the DA's office for filing consideration. For the week ending February 28th, crime picture, all analysis is based on offense count with the exception of homicide and victim shot through the 28th. Compared year-to-date 2025, combined persons and property crimes are down 18.4%, or almost 3,500 fewer crimes. Person crimes are down 9.4%, and property crimes down 20.7%. With respect to homicides, the city has experienced a year-to-date decrease of 22.2%, or 10 fewer lives lost compared to 2025. Victims shot citywide down 28.3%, aggravated assaults down 5.1%, and robberies down 14.4%. Burglaries are down 34.5%, or 756 fewer cases when compared to last year. Residential burglaries are down 37.3%, and non-residential burglaries are down just under 30%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 30.8%, or 1,100 fewer year-to-date compared to 2025. We attribute these reductions to strategic deployment of resources, focused enforcement efforts, and the continued use of our metropolitan crime impact teams. Technology continues to play an important role, including the expansion of CCTV, ALPR camera systems, and Peregrine. Equally important is our collaboration with local, state, and federal partners in investigating crimes, as well as the city attorney and district attorney's offices to ensure that individuals who commit crimes are held accountable. While these numbers are encouraging, we remain vigilant and continue to adjust deployment strategies to sustain progress and address emerging needs. Our personnel strength, sworn personnel as of March 2nd is 8,698. Civilian personnel staffing is at 2,464, and we have 346 reserve officers. Last week, the Commission requested additional information regarding personnel available for operations. Because employee status changed daily, the department has traditionally tracked these figures on a monthly basis to ensure accuracy and consistency. Moving forward, we'll incorporate this information into our weekly updates to provide greater transparency regarding our staffing posture. For the current reporting period, a number of department personnel are not in full duty status due to injury, illness, leave, or work restrictions. At this time, 537 sworn personnel and 52 civilian professional staff are on injured on duty status. 37 sworn and 41 civilian employees are on long-term sick leave. 15 sworn and 26 civilian employees are on FMLA status. 371 sworn and 114 civilian employees are assigned to temporary work restrictions or light duty, and 75 sworn and 115 civilian employees have permanent duty restrictions. In total, 1,035 sworn personnel, approximately 11.9% of our sworn workforce, and 348 civilian employees, approximately 14.1% of our civilian workforce, are currently not in full duty status in some capacity across the department. While many of these employees continue contributing in modified or administrative assignments, these limitations do impact the number of personnel available for full field deployment on any given day. It's also important to provide context when discussing daily deployment numbers. As a department, we traditionally allocate vacation time at approximately 12% of the workforce each deployment period, with vacation scheduled the year prior to ensure operational balance and staffing continuity. That's roughly 1,044 employees could be on vacation each deployment period. Additionally, daily staffing levels must account for regularly scheduled days off, mandatory training environment or assignments, employees who call in sick, and employees who are restricted due to disciplinary reasons. When all of these factors are considered together, they provide a more accurate understanding of the personnel available for deployment on any given day. That concludes my report to the Commission this morning.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Sure.
I appreciate your report specifically on, or give us more information on the restrictions of the helicopter, because what I heard on television was a focus on the LAPD's access to the airport. But I'm happy to hear that it was just not the LAPD, but many other entities in our city.
The LA Times took the opportunity to focus on LAPD and then turn it into a negative story that really was something that originated from a restriction on all helicopter traffic throughout the area. And so if the TV was using the LA Times as a source, that's where that information came from.
Well, thank you for the update. As it pertains to the protest, the update on the protest, and specifically on the walkout, what school did you say that was at on the date of February 23rd?
It was the Stella Elementary and Middle School Charter Academy.
And where is that located?
I'd have to look that up
Yeah,
to find out
okay.
where.
Well, overall, it was a peaceful demonstration except for the entry into Target and 7-Eleven,
Yes.
right? And I'm really happy to hear that. I think the students are becoming more active and wanting to also express their voice, but the fact that there was this disruption at Target and 7-Eleven and addressed by their parents shows that, that there is concern by the parent, there is monitoring by the parents, and I think it shows some level of support for LAPD as well. So I'm happy that it turned out that way. As for the additional information that you gave us on personnel update, it's incredible that there's so many people are out on a daily basis, and
Right.
yet we're still able to deploy and be out in the city. So thank you for that updated report. I think that our two commissioners here today may have some additional questions. I will start with Commissioner Scobin.
Thank you. Morning, Chief.
Morning.
Thank you for the report, and I appreciate you recognizing the personnel request made and including it in your report and the detailed information. It's great to hear crime is down and hear about the proactive efforts contributing to that. I'm also happy to hear that officer-involved shootings are down this year. Towards the end of last year, I brought up whether or not we had data from neighboring departments, and I appreciate that you shared an interest in looking at this. And as a part of understanding, you suggested the department to look at would be other large departments, such as the Sheriff's Department, which made good sense to me. When Chief Choi was asked about the status of this at a subsequent commission meeting in December, he said that the department was working on a report. Is there any update on when we can expect that report?
I will find out today and get back to you. I'm not sure where that report is now, but
Okay, thank
in
you.
progress.
Another thing, I believe it was on our January 13th meeting, we had a presentation on improving 911 response times. In that presentation, the department's technical deficiencies were shared and were quite alarming. I'd like to get an update on when we can expect the technical requirements needed to upgrade and fix our 911 system and the associated costs to doing so, as we discussed in that.
Okay, we'll put that together. Thanks for that opportunity.
And the last thing I'd like to bring up, and this has been a hot topic of mine from the beginning of my tenure here as a commissioner and came up a lot during my confirmation meetings with council members and community leaders, and that's ALPRs. It was clear to me that for some, there's a strong desire for ALPR cameras and additional ALPR cameras as they recognize the benefit that they offer in public safety. For others, there's a concern, and primarily around the data being collected and how it's shared and with whom. It seems as though there's a weekly article of a city in California or throughout the country who is freezing or canceling the use of flock cameras in their arsenal. I know there's a state law in this matter that talks about data sharing and department policies that we have in place. I think it's prudent this time in this moment. I'm asking that the department make a presentation for the commission on our use of flock cameras and specifically include why we're so confident that we aren't experiencing the same issues and concerns that other cities are encountering with certain settings in their system and the data sharing that they're witnessing.
Great. We'll put that together, Commissioner. We're aware of a data sharing issue in Ventura County recently. We checked our system to ensure that we are not sharing data with unauthorized users, and we're doing and we're comfortable that that is the case at this point, but we are doing an internal audit to confirm.
I appreciate that, and I'm very happy to hear that, and I just think for the sake of transparency, we should present that to
Sure.
the public.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tabor, any comments, any follow-up?
No comments on the report. Thank you for including information compared to departments. But I do have a question and request that I think was mentioned at our last meeting. this, I would say this weekend or last couple of evenings, local news has begun to focus on the human trafficking occurring on Figueroa, and I'm
Right.
wondering, Chief, when we'll have that report back, be able to talk about what we are doing as an agency and department, but also what other resources are being applied in that space.
Be happy to put that together for you. Channel 7 did a recent special on that, where they did ride-alongs with our vice officers in, along the Figueroa corridor. It was well done, but I think brought to light for a lot of people the problem that has been going on for many, many years. We're addressing it. We have officers assigned to a human trafficking task force in South Bureau, but we're also working with our partners, prosecution, on the prosecution side, the city attorney, the district attorney, and the U.S. attorney. So we have ongoing efforts there, using a number of different strategies, but happy to be able to provide a more in-depth review of that if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd certainly be also interested in knowing how we're partnering with other human trafficking organizations who are
Sure.
doing the public side of that and engaging families and individuals.
Community-based organizations, perfect, we'll do that.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move now to a public comment period. Before we proceed, Madam Secretary, to the moment, how many cards have been submitted for comment?
29?
29?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In light of the number of cards submitted at this time, we're going to try to allow everyone to have an opportunity to speak. It's important for this commission that we do make a positive effort to hear everyone if that's at all possible within our limited time. So we're going to give everyone 2 minutes to speak instead of 3 minutes. And then at the end of the hour, at the end of 60 minutes, we will then reevaluate and see how many cards are left. And we'll decide at that time. All right, Madam Secretary, call the first speaker.
The first speaker is Andrew Graebner.
So you just allow the chief to go on and on and on and on and on, talking about stuff that's not even relevant to this department or whatever. But you can't have enough time to let us speak for the full amount of time. You keep canceling meetings, limiting comment, not letting people speak for the full time. You clearly have no interest in listening to us at all. You pretty much, you now duck in at the last second. You didn't even get your chance to go shake the hands of all the cops today, Teresa, like you usually do. So, let's see. We've got a number of stuff on the consent agenda. We've got stuff, more military equipment to the police department. Why do you need all this military equipment? What are you doing with it? I know, trying to harm people and such. And you keep talking about how crime is down, every week crime is down. But you need more money, more military equipment, and this department doesn't hold the LAPD accountable for even the, most egregious of violations. This commission just doesn't care. And, it's kind of hilarious how the inspector general went out of his way to try to let me get my report in. That was because the LAPD cares about the public so much that they literally changed the email address that they used to use for providing reports. That's what I discovered. So if you want to file a report on a cop, they've changed the email address from what it used to be. So it just sits there, and maybe if you yell and scream loud enough, eventually they'll direct you to the correct email address. And yeah, I know it's posted, but how many people actually go there if they've already filed a report in the past? They just use the email address they already sent it to. We got an immigration update. The LAPD keeps aiding and abetting in ICE kidnappings, assisting ICE, sharing data with ICE every step of the way, while the chief lies about it. This commission and city council and the mayor do absolutely nothing whatsoever to hold him accountable. Fire him!
P. Miller.
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chief, for your informative speech this morning. Thank you to the LAPD officers and Chief McDonald. You are to be commended for the significant drop in crime, including homicides in 2025, down to the lowest in 60 years. Community supports the increase of sworn personnel, should be a minimum of 10,000, and that number was actually promised by previous mayors. Mexico's President Sheinbaum and their law enforcement and military are also to be commended recently. They deserve America's support and cooperation against cartels. It is truly naive to think drug cartels and their operatives are not here in the Southland. Hopefully, the U.S. will also deliver that $15 million reward to the families of the 25 murdered Mexican National Guard members. Regarding demonstrations, we truly appreciate the Iranian Americans who came to this country respectfully and became proud U.S. citizens. It was impressive to watch their demonstrations. In fact, on February 14th, they reported over 250,000 in downtown LA. Reports stated they picked up after themselves, gave flowers to law enforcement as a thank you for keeping them safe. Now, commissioners, that is a peaceful protest. Today, there's a report on immigration. Would like to have that report include how many criminal foreigners have actually been apprehended in Los Angeles? What have been the charges? Is it true 10,000 of the 300,000 unaccompanied minors have been found in Southern California? What are the facts and what is made up? It is naive to think criminal illegal foreigners are not operating in Los Angeles, a city that, thanks to selective enforcement by politicians, also gives sanctuary to foreign drug dealers, human traffickers.
The next speaker, Sophia Wrench.
Wrench, and I'm a staff attorney at Public Counsel. Over the last year, I have been on the ground responding to immigrants who have been kidnapped by ICE and languish in detention centers. I've heard firsthand from people about the brutal ways they were arrested by ICE, thrown to the ground, beaten, dragged by their arms, dislocating their shoulders, getting lacerations on their faces. We've all seen how US citizens have been executed by ICE officers point blank for exercising their First Amendment rights. We mourn the death of LA's own Keith Porter, who was killed by an off-duty ICE officer on New Year's Eve. You've likely heard by now also about the former ICE lawyer and training instructor who warned Congress that ICE has cut its officers' training on the fundamentals of the Constitution, use of force, and how to use firearms safely. A recent CNN analysis found that ICE officers receive less training than almost any other federal agents. Despite these constitutional rights violations and the growing evidence that federal immigration officers are lying on 911 calls, when ICE and Border Patrol call, LAPD facilitates ICE's work, corralling crowds and establishing perimeters that enable them to more quickly racially profile and kidnap our community members. We are beyond a moment for virtue signaling. LAPD must significantly limit its responses to calls for support for federal immigration enforcement. In this context, we strongly support Councilmember Eunice Hernandez's motion directing the police commissioners to narrow LAPD's responses. It has been 8 months since the LA City Council passed this motion, and this commission has yet to adopt any such policy. We demand this commission move immediately to ensure the adoption of the strongest possible policy.
Next, we have Steve Riley.
Good morning.
Good morning. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. The United States of America is a constitutional republic. Christ is king, and all lives matter. Today, I'll be using many words that begin with the letter I. Immigration, item 4A. I have posted a letter in the letters section. I hope people make an effort to find it because 2 minutes is not a lot of time to express the ideas that need to be expressed. That letter is surrounded by other letters that was submitted in form, fashion by the ACLU. It is full of ideological attacks and identity politics. It is important to realize that law enforcement should be working together, federal and local officers working together. And terminology is important. When we say immigrant, we're talking about illegal immigrant alien invaders, illegal alien invaders, not legal immigrants. We welcome legal immigrants, people who come and process the right way. We respect them as they respected our laws. That is key. I can move to Paris tomorrow, and that doesn't make me a Parisian. That doesn't make me French. So let's get our terms correct. Let's do what is the right thing. All Americans should be working to enforce the law and national sovereignty of our country. This month is Irish American Heritage Month. I hope it's noted on the website. There have been many great contributions made by many groups of people. Let's not neglect the Irish. I can't see how much time I have left here. If it's possible to improve the system here, it would be appreciated. 2 minutes is not a lot of time. Please look at the letter. God bless and God save America. Thank you.
The next speaker, Carlos Amador.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Amador. I'm a resident of the city of Los Angeles. I work with the Clean Car Wash Workers Center, and I'm also a part of the Sanctuary LA Coalition. I want to speak on item 4A as well as general public comment. As you may know, car wash workers have been one of the most impacted members of our community based on the rates. In fact, the first raid that happened at a car wash was on June 8th, Sunday, June 8th, in the neighborhood of Westchester in the West LA area of the city. And since then, over 100 car washes have been raided, and more than 300 car wash workers have been taken from their families and their communities by kidnapped by masked immigration thugs. Also, an off-duty ICE agent killed Keith Porter on the evening of New Year's Eve, and LAPD has done nothing to hold him accountable and bring justice for Keith Porter and his family. We applauded when the city of Los Angeles passed an ordinance establishing the sanctuary ordinance here in the city, but we're also disappointed that the LAPD and the commission has slow-walked the implementation of this ordinance, as well as the implementation of the motion passed by Council Member Eunice Hernandez. We want to see a full implementation of the ordinance, as well as the motion and the executive directors that have come out of the mayor's office. Instead of protecting immigrants, we have witnessed LAPD effectively helping federal masked thugs, apparently responding to mutual aid requests. But where's the mutual aid for immigrant workers? Where's the mutual aid for immigrant residents who are the economic and cultural fabric of the city? So I ask that the commission please move immediately to implement and adopt the strongest possible protections for our community, our immigrant community, and to limit the LAPD response calls to serve as federal masked immigration thugs. Thank you.
Andres Kwan.
Andres Kwan with ACLU and LA resident, speaking to items 4A, 14, general public comments. First, I need to honor and say the names of Renee Good and Alex Preti, as well as Keith Porter Jr. and Carlos Montoya, Jaime Garcia, Jose Villegas, and every beloved human being who died as a result of the lawlessness and greed of the Trump regime that is rotten to its core, and the racist fascist thugs who are akin to secret killing squads, now executing civilians in broad daylight for simply exercising their First Amendment rights. Since June 6th and the federal siege of Los Angeles and the Southland, and then in Chicago, and horrifyingly so in Minnesota, we've been fighting not just to defend our constitutional and human rights, but more importantly, to heal and overhaul the sick soul of our nation. In LA, we witnessed the Trump regime unleashing militarized mass goons to terrorize our communities, abducting and ripping folks from their families, and then detaining them in dungeon-like conditions at B-18 down just a block. At the same time, we witnessed the LAPD effectively assisting these federal thugs, responding to calls for so-called mutual aid. LAPD was seen establishing perimeters during or after immigration raids, which courts have found were based on unconstitutional racial profiling. But despite rampant rights violations and the growing evidence of ICE and Border Patrol, agents lying in 911 calls, when they call, LAPD just blindly follows. As Sofia and Carlos mentioned, it's been 8 months since Councilmember Hernandez's motion directing this commission to significantly narrow LAPD's response to calls for support from the feds. This commission has yet to adopt any such policy. On this note, Notice 1.14 deals with process on how to respond, but it is not a policy limiting the situations on when LAPD can respond. Thus, we demand this commission move immediately by the next report on immigration scheduled for April 7th and ensure the adoption of the strongest possible policy limiting LAPD responses to calls for service by the feds. We cannot and will not allow the LAPD to do the bidding of federal agents who lie and violate Angelenos' constitutional and human rights.
William Good.
Good morning. So the LAPD has a gang problem. I was going through the discipline report that was just released last week, and buried in it was an officer who was forced to resign because he participated in a law enforcement gang. That's what it said. We've heard about this with the LASD, but now we have it happening with the LAPD. Granted, I've always known you guys had a gang problem. Most of the specialized enforcement vice unit and gang units participated in them. I imagine this guy or woman was involved in the mission division scandal. But here we are. An officer is named in the report. The LAPD says that he is in a law enforcement gang, and nobody's talking about it. This is an LAPD commission meeting, and no one's talking about the fact that an LAPD officer was in a law enforcement gang. Now, according to the Department of Justice, it takes at least 3 people to be considered in a gang. So who are the other 2? Who are the other 2? And matter of fact, who is this officer who has resigned? See, LAPD or California has laws in place that protect officers' personnel files from being released to the public, but thanks to SB 1421, we are now privileged to information where officers have been involved in illegal searches, bias policing, and things of that nature. And this officer, it says in the report, participated in both. So who the fuck is this officer who participated in a law enforcement gang? And why are we not talking about this? So here, and why is he not certified? Exactly. So I CPRA'd his information last week. Jim, you haven't acknowledged it yet. By law, you have a total of 45 days to turn over the information. Turn it over. I'm tired of taking you to court. Do the fucking right thing for once, and commission, do your fucking jobs. Yeah!
The next speaker, please. Tran Son Ha. Tran Son Ha.
Good morning, Chief. Good morning, everybody. So I came here. I'm sure the Los Angeles Police Department is change better service for all American people. It's good, but it's very important. I'm sorry. I come here. I'm not asking anybody for money or make some money. No, I don't want it. But so I'm here to protect all American people right and safety. But I want everybody, please, strong support me. It transcend her. It will protect all of us safety, and not in USA but around the world. We will do it. So I'm here every time that I'm asking the people about it. We want it. The safety is the best for everybody. If nobody can do it, but I'm here with everybody, we will do it. We will do it. God bless America. Thank you, everybody. Please keep your mind and with me, then we will do it. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Charmaine Elizabeth Johnson.
Yeah, last week after I spoke, I was taken back in a room here for a mental health assessment. This week, my voice has been impeded with chemicals put in my consumables. Your officers are committing crime, Chief, and they're aiding and abetting an FBI agent who is attempting to murder me out of the ORL airport in Orlando called John. And it's been reported, it was reported on 11/18. Nothing has been done since that date. They're aiding and abetting, they're committing the crime, they're assisting with the murder, they're liable for the same act that the ORL agent is performing, attempted murder. They are liable for that same crime because they're doing nothing. Your officers need to be retrained. They need to do their jobs and they need to stop murdering me. I came out of hospital yesterday because I was impeded with my voice and injected on the street. I need justice.
Jonathan Foster, please.
Hello, Jonathan Foster. No OIS, thank God. 210.46 duty to report misconduct. The commission is a badge tarnisher. So, Black History Month, I want to do a little celebrating this way. Thanks. McCoy, Ron, and Elvin. So, Torres, he was shot, right? He had a cell phone, and I said head to toe body armor, and they have all this in a closet, right? And this type of engagement needs revision because they're always shooting somebody. And the head to toe body armor is the protection for the officer. This officer could have been shot. The female is the only one that stood her ground. She actually could have been shot. But they need head to toe body armor on this. Not enough time, but I have to bring up Yang Yang and Linda Becerra Moran, right? Same type of situation where the police department didn't need to shoot these two, but they did. Yang Yang had his knife like this, they shot him, but Linda Becerra Moran had the knife up to her neck. Both of them, they could have shut the door and waited to do something different to engage these two suspects instead of shooting them. So I keep coming up here telling you I'm the chief of police. This is how you need to proceed. So you stop killing people. You have officers having to take psychological examinations and are now become, people that have murdered or killed. Who's protecting the police department is me. So do what I've requested, please.
Audit LA, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Down the street, they're having several court cases, and one of them is the Danny Masterson case, and the other one is the Chrissy Bixler versus Scientology case. Now, Danny Masterson is a convicted rapist of 3 women, okay? And one of them is the Chrissy Bixler, who is the victim of him. Now, they were all Scientologists, although Danny still is a Scientologist in good standing, even though he's in prison for 30 years for drugging and raping 3 women. And they're working hard to get him out of prison. These are the people on your CPAP. And his victim, Chrissy, who is terrified to go out of the house because she's being terrified of Scientology and their gaming tactics, because you're not allowed to report crimes to the police. And the 3 Jane Does did report it. It took them years to be able to report it because they had to be able to get out of Scientology and then do it. And then when they did it, they became excommunicated. Okay, so you have 3 rape victims who are not allowed to, they're not they are not only not Scientologists in good standing, they are considered the enemy of the church. And so fair game, the church can do whatever they want to them without any kind of consequences from Scientology. These people are on your CPAPs. Do you really want an entity, an organization that rewards a rapist who is in good standing, because he, did everything he had to do, but women who actually sought out help for being raped are considered not only, excommunicated, but live in terror daily for what's happening to them, especially now that she's going to court, they're going to court. This is not right. Please get Scientology off of your CPAP. I beg you. Thank you.
Yanisa?
Women needs assessment. Women in Skid Row identified police harassment, stalking, brutality as the top harms in our lives. This is nothing new. It's well documented. So explain to me the city response to women saying we are being stalked is to expand surveillance cameras and track our every movement. You're not solving harm, you're digitizing it. If women say police is a source of violence, the answer is not more tools for the police. The answer is housing, service, community safety, not digital surveillance that criminalize us. We demand that Los Angeles cancel all partnership with Flock Safety immediately. We do not want this. Get the block out.
Veronica?
Hello, Veronica couldn't come to the phone right now, but you got me, Azalea. I'm here with LA Can and the Downtown Women's Action Coalition. Women seeking abortion care and gender-affirming care need protection and privacy. Women trying to regain custody of their children deserve dignity and support, not violence, not hate, and not racism from a fascist system. Movement data is weaponized in court systems and investigations. You're building a surveillance state where patterns of movement are interpreted as guilt? That's fucking insane. Women should not have to worry about going to a clinic or a courthouse creating a digital trail about them. Our movement should not be used in determining whether or not we fit these profiles. This is reproductive and parental surveillance. No to LAPD surveillance expansion. We don't want Flock in here. So, we demand that Los Angeles ends its contract with Flock immediately. And if Jesus is king, you shouldn't have beat and deported him.
Novelette? Great name.
Hello, I'm with LA Ken. I am here with LA Ken. Skid Row is not a criminal lab for testing new policing tools. It is a community of women surviving policy failure, failed housing policy, failed healthcare system, failed economic protection. Stop experimenting on us. Stop treating poverty like a criminal condition to be monitored. We are not data points. We are human beings. We say no to Flock. We demand that Los Angeles cancel all partnership with Flock Safety immediately.
Monique? Monique?
Hello, how you guys? I'm standing in for Monique, but I'm also standing in and representing the LA Can. My name is Akila Salam, and basically, what is safety? Is safety cameras? Is safety messing with the algorithm? Is safety the police toy database? Is that safety? No, that's not safety. When I was 13 years old, I was emancipated as a young child downtown LA, and I was looking for a place to live, a safety net, and I couldn't find that. Where did I find that? In my community. My community empowered me to go to school. I never went to high school. No, no, no. But you're looking at a girl with a BA and AA. But I never went to high school. But my community empowered me to go to high school. Now, would a camera help me go to high school? Being a young homeless individual? No, 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 no. The camera could not help me. Would somebody playing around with algorithm and databases and trying to figure out this new cybersecurity, could that help me? No, at that time, that could not help me. I was the youngest on food stamps at 12 years old. And so I say that to say that we do not need to be tracked. We need to be helped. Everybody reach out your hand. We need that hand right there. We need that helping hand. We don't need the helping eye, because the eye cannot do anything to help me in my situation. We say no flocking in Skid Row. Why? Because we need a help. We say no digital stalking. Why? Because we need your real help. We say no. We say, can you invest in women? Why can't you? We ask you to invest in women. Why? Because we are caring, we are nurturing. And just like you have women on your police board, and you have women in the world, you know what I'm saying? We're caring and we're nurturing. LA Can has DWAG. We want you guys to invest in us because the community care. We care about the community, and we're not just watching. It's not a pay-per-view. Help us view. Thank you.
Lakeisha.
Hi, my name is Leticia, and I'm with LA Can in the Downtown Women Action Coalition. Women are fleeing domestic violence, often rely on anonymity and mobility to survive. Now imagine expanding a system that tracks movement patterns across the city. These tools make it easier to trace women who are trying to escape harm. They make it easier for abusers or the state to locate vulnerable women. You cannot claim to care about survivors by building infrastructure that tracks their movement. Safety means protection. It means privacy and dignity, not surveillance. We demand that LA Council all partnerships with Flock Safety now. Get the flock out of our community.
Shamika.
Hi, my name is Shamika. I'm here with LA Can and Downtown Women's Action Coalition. Listen, Black women have always been coded as suspicious in this country. We are especially targeted in loitering laws and quality of life citation. Our presence in public space has always been criminalized. Flock expands that legacy into digital form. When you track movement patterns in over-policed neighborhoods, you are not neutral. You are reinforcing racial profiling with technology. We do not need predictive policing, software mapping our survival. We need housing, accessible, accessible healthcare, fresh food programs, centers for mothers and children. Centers for mothers and children. Real people-centered investment. Real people-centered investment. We demand the Los Angeles cancel all partnership with Flock Safety now.
Candy.
Translating. My name is Maricela with the Downtown Women's Action Coalition. Flock data has and is being used to assist ICE. Let's say that clearly. You are expanding a surveillance system that can be used to track vulnerable women in our community. Skid Row is home to women surviving violence and displacement. You cannot say you support immigrant communities while investing in tools that help hunt them. That is not public safety. That is state enforcement infrastructure. We absolutely reject the use of Flock and demand that the City of Los Angeles cancel all partnerships and contracts with Flock Safety immediately.
Good morning. I'm with LA Can by way of Downtown Women's Action Coalition, seeking abortion care and protection and privacy. Women trying to regain custody of their children deserve dignity and support, and their past not used against them. Movement data is weaponized in court systems and investigations. You're building a surveillance state where patterns of movement are interpreted as guilt. Women should not have to worry about going to a clinic or a courthouse creates a digital trail, especially when trying to get your kids back, they use it against you. Our movement should not be used in determining whether or not we are fit parents. This is a reproductive and parental surveillance. No to LAPD surveillance expansion and demand Los Angeles in its contract with safety and flocking. Fuck the police.
Sonia C. Sonia C. Okay.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Sonia C. I'm here with Ellie Can and the Downtown Women's Action Coalition. Women are dying unhoused in Los Angeles. And yet, the city continues to pour public dollars into LAPD civilians infrastructure. Money for cameras, money for databases, money for L policing, but not enough for permanent housing. That is not a funding issue. That is a value issue. Housing reduces harm. Cameras do not. We want house keys, not spying devices. We demand that Los Angeles cancel all partnerships with Flock Safety immediately. Budget priorities.
Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Ramos. I'm here with Disability Rights California, Los Angeles Community Action Network, and the Downtown Women's Action Coalition. I'm speaking alongside my sisters in Skid Row today. I want to say that license plate reader data has historically been used to send Dear John letters targeting sex workers and their clients. That is surveillance used for moral policing. Sex workers in Skid Row are already heavily targeted by law enforcement. Flock expands the ability to track, document, criminalize people surviving through informal economies. You are not addressing poverty. You are expanding punishment. We say no to the expansion of surveillance tools and demand that Los Angeles ends its contract with Flock's safety. That was something that my sisters helped me write on script. Off script, I want you to know that as a former sex worker, the Los Angeles Police Department were great clients of mine. They were poor paying clients. They were also extremely abusive. I also want you to know that you have an unchecked informant program that continues to utilize children as informants. So I don't understand why we need more investment in tools to surveil. We see what's happening with the Epstein files. The reality of the situation is that you're not targeting the mass destruction of our towns. If you were, you would invest in housing, in health services, in food, in things that you and that I and that all of us need. Stop this massive, confusing the audience, confusing the public on what is needed. We need housing, no clock.
Quinn. The next speaker is Quinn. Quinn.
So this week you have a presentation on immigration enforcement. Once again, last week I asked you the question, why would Los Angeles Police Department be telling us about immigration? It's because you're aiding ICE. With that, we wrote you a letter talking about Flock, which is just one of the many ALPR vendors that the department weaponizes against Angelinos. ALPRs were first used in the US in 1998, predominantly to, shockingly, police the border. Since then, ALPRs have continued to be weaponized for mass deportations, as well as the criminalization of sex workers, abortion, protesters, gender-affirming care, and everyone who passes a Flock camera. As reported by Cal Matters, the LAPD searched license plate readings on behalf of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, as recently as May of 2025. We know that the reality is that fusion centers and the information sharing environment, LAPD and federal immigration agencies are constantly exchanging Flock data. Flock's ALPR hits are then used to create a digital web for ICE to track, hunt, and abduct community members. Furthermore, regardless of citizenship status, as we've been hearing, Flock data is used to criminalize Angelinos across the city, expanding the presumption of guilt constantly. From Dear John letters criminalizing sex workers to deportation, Flock criminalizes and you help them. In fascist and white supremacist systems, there's always a close alliance between corporate power and the state, where private companies like Flock provide tools to you to accelerate government surveillance and repression. Furthermore, in LAPD's presentation throughout the past year, the Board of Police Commissioners, you, and LAPD's Captain Espinoza continuously have lied about the information sharing of Flock ALPR data between LAPD and federal agencies. I'm curious to know what kind of lies you come up with today. As mentioned above, our letter outlined LAPD's information sharing in response to your blatant lies, exactly a year ago. In fact, from Flock's own transparency portal updated as of March 2nd in 2026, we have even more evidence about the information sharing of Flock data between LAPD and federal immigration agencies, including ICE, CBP, and DHS. We are demanding that you shut down all partnerships with Flock, from MOUs to MOAs to contracts, and Flock partnerships with LAPD now.
Grace.
Because Los Angeles is being turned into a digital dragnet, and LAPD wants us to believe it's about safety. Flock Safety is not safety. It is a private surveillance corporation that installs AI-powered license plate readers across our neighborhoods. Cameras that do not just capture plates, but track vehicles by make, model, color, bumper stickers, dents, wheels, and more. And they also capture the people inside and around them. You do not have to be driving to be caught in Flock's web. Every movement is logged with a timestamp, a location, an image, and uploaded to a central server that law enforcement agencies can query at will. Our movement becomes suspicion, and our patterns becomes guilt. And LAPD has the audacity to suggest this data is not shared with federal immigration enforcement. That is a lie. As mentioned before, Cal Matters reported that LAPD searched license plate readings on behalf of ICE as recently as May 2025. LAPD refused to answer questions about those searches. They didn't deny it, they hid. LAPD
is not adjacent to the system of information sharing. LAPD is a major contributor of fusion centers. So when they say they don't collaborate with ICE, understand what they mean. They don't physically hand someone over, they just build the map. They draw the digital trail. They create the searchable archive of where you were, when, and with whom, and then they plug into a system ICE can access. And who is targeted first? Black and brown people, people in Skid Row, immigrants, sex workers, protesters, people seeking abortion care, people seeking gender-affirming care, students, entire communities deemed disposable. Meanwhile, our schools are underfunded, our parks are underfunded, libraries close early, housing remains unaffordable, but tax dollars and even donations from wealthy neighborhoods flow into surveillance expansion. This is how corporate surveillance becomes public policing. But let's be clear, this is not a misunderstanding. This is not confusion. This is intentional. Flock is not about solving crime. It is about expanding the presumption of guilt. It is about building a searchable history of our lives so that at any moment the state can rewind the tape and decide we were suspicious all along. We refuse that future. We demand that the LAPD immediately terminate all partnerships with Flock Safety and dismantle the digital deportation pipeline. Because safety is not cameras.
Thank you. The next speaker, please, Hamid. Hamid.
So last year, exactly to the date, on March 3rd, 2025, the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition sent a letter to this body detailing and mapping out and exposing this whole myth of Sanctuary City. The lies that are constantly being spit out and the lies that are constantly being told to us. We mapped out exactly how information sharing happened. We mapped out exactly how the stalker state functions. We mapped out exactly what the role of fusion centers. We mapped out exactly about DHS-run fusion centers and Criminal Justice Information Center. We mapped out exactly how record management system and everything else, just all the information sharing is baked in. We're going to hear it again today. More cover-ups, because what is happening is that it's a web of deception. And it's very interesting that as LAPD keeps on saying that it is not, this is a transparency portal from Flock. This is a transparency portal from Northern California Regional Intelligence Center, which is also the Fusion Center. And this is dated March 2nd, 2026, just from yesterday. It lists all of these police departments, all of the campuses and everything. And of course, Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles Port Police. Same thing is happening. And here we are constantly being given this smoke and mirror bullshit, complete bullshit, the Kool-Aid, that people have drank as well, that this is a sanctuary city. Information sharing is baked in. Information sharing is on autopilot. You can't change that. That is what happens. Suspicious activity reporting program, see something, say something program. It cannot survive without information sharing. These programs will not exist. When fingerprints are taken, you're not convicted, there's no result, but your fingerprints are immediately sent to the FBI for matching. So there are so many different ways that information sharing is happening. So let's just constantly keep on disrupting this, exposing this lie, because we will shut down Flock. We will shut down Flock, because people in Los Angeles, the cities across
Thank you.
have shut it down. So for goddamn sake, do it once, do the right thing.
The next speaker, Aiden.
You know, it's been about, I can't even count, 6 to 8 weeks since I last addressed this commission, and it's not because I haven't been at the meetings. It's because this commission and this meeting are a fucking sham. I'm just going to talk about a couple things that are on the agenda today that I remember from my notes, because the good people who have come here today to talk about Flock, who have risked their own safety to come into the middle of police headquarters at 9:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, because that is the only time to address this commission, took their time to try to protect the many, many people who will be harmed by Flock. Other things that were in this report include a report about traffic stops, pretextual traffic stops. Guess who's getting stopped? Can anyone in the audience guess? Black and brown people! That's right. I believe that in 2025, something around between 50 and 60% of stops, pretextual stops, were of black and brown people who make up, well, I don't remember the numbers, but I encourage everyone to read that report and come back next week and talk about it. There was also a change to the department's use of force policy regarding chokeholds. If you read that policy, the changes indicate that you're still planning to do them. There's, just a regular procedure for if someone uses a chokehold or a cartwheel hold in, detention situations. I will remind everyone here today, any in-custody death is a murder. If you have put someone into jail and they die under your watch, you have murdered them. You have prevented them from seeking medical care. You have prevented them from getting nutritious food. You have prevented them from going outside. You have controlled their life and you have ended it. Every in-custody death is a murder. And I'll also say, 6 weeks ago when I was gonna talk, the police had just shot someone in the eye. That person lost their vision. And then the next week, the LAPD did the same thing. If you let me talk,
Your time is up. Thank you. Your time is up. You're being disruptive. This is your first and last month warning. This is your last warning.
Talia Intender. Talia Intender. Okay. Jasenka.
Hi guys, missed you last week. Dear middle class whites, these are the people behind the marketing slogan to protect and serve. The bullshit marketing slogan that is.
Could you, excuse me, would you speak into the mic? Because we
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
hear you up here. Thank you.
This marketing slogan that teaches us that we are we get to benefit from the protection and the serving. But really, at the end of the day, no one does. It's all bullshit. This is not a sanctuary city. Flock is spying on all of us. The money that is going to Flock systems, that could be going to our kids' schooling, to people's housing, to making us have an actual functioning and safe city, instead of us being surveilled, those cameras are predictive. That means they are predicting future crimes that people haven't done yet. And then that gets uploaded in people's database, the file on every single citizen of Los Angeles. How does that make anybody feel safer when they can just make up anything that you want to put into our files that you've seen us do? What if I got in a fight with someone on the street that was hurting my kid, for instance, and then you guys decide to upload that footage and put it in my database and say that I am a future possible violent person because I yelled at somebody? That may happen to me. That will definitely happen to Black and brown people. So I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't want to fund that. I don't think anybody that is of sound mind that has watched any sci-fi movies feels really comfortable with that level of surveillance in our cities. I'm surprised that you guys do, because it's such a violation of our civil rights. It's such a violation. Protect this community.
Baba Akili.
First, I want to thank our siblings from LA King for bringing to their attention this contradiction, but more importantly, their failure in holding accountable. Well, first of all, they shouldn't have had the contract in the first place. So, but now that they do, the first thing that needs to happen is they need to cancel the contract. So I want to thank you all for coming here and being so articulate and reminding them of their responsibility. Secondly, I want to say to you, it's been over 60 days since the murder of Keith Porter. What is the status of that case? Have you cooperated or collaborated with ICE to find out what Brian Palacio is doing? Has he been held accountable? What are you doing? And where is he? We had to find out his name. We dug that up. You didn't give that to us. So what is the status of the case? And secondly, we are asking that a timeline be established because you all have a tradition of dragging shit out and hope that people forget. Hope that the family just goes on. So we're asking for a timeline. When will this investigation be terminated? When will the report be brought back? And will Brian Palacio be held accountable? Cancel the flock contract, flock out of LA.
Fandi Abdullah.
My name is Tandiwe Abdullah. I'm 22 years old. I've been coming here since I was a child because I have to. And I'm very tired of coming to beg and plead for basic human rights. So instead today I want to talk about the fucked up psychology of police and their accomplices. The LAPD and their accomplices exemplify what we see in things like the Stanford prison experiment. Because without the badge and the gun, you are all human beings. Just in case y'all forgot, you're human beings, you're racist ones, but you're still human nonetheless, like everyone else in this room. And like the fascists at the highest level of office in this country, you are all drunk on power in a system that lets you get away with everything. Just like the Stanford prison experiments, we see how ordinary people become abusive, corrupt, and violent when they are given the power and the authority to do so. And you all on this commission give them that authority. Every single day, you let them go unchecked. I'm here to also resist the surveillance and over-policing of our communities that y'all do with programs like Flock. Cancel your partnership with Flock. I don't know how LAPD is able to lie to us over and over again that they want to prioritize intelligence and safety with programs like these. Then why is it so hard to get transparency when it comes to police accountability since you're experts at surveillance? The LAPD has zero right to surveil our communities when they can't even surveil themselves and their own misconduct truthfully and transparently. LAPD are a gang. They are the biggest gang in the city, and they are protected by the likes of you and by the fascist culture of this entire city and country. Flock is being used to profile and surveil poor, black, and brown people, young people, queer people. But in the age of the Epstein files, we know that there are massive crime rings amongst the elite and the protected rich class. Why aren't you surveilling them? If you have such sophisticated systems of surveillance, why have you not yet found and apprehended Brian Palacios, the killer of Keith Porter, since you can surveil everyone, right? I could go on and on about.
Thank you. The next speaker, please. Sheila Bates. Sheila Bates.
So first, let me remind you that it is arbitrary and at your discretion, even if it wasn't your choice, that all people here in person and on Zoom should be able to speak, and you cannot be the voice of the people without listening to the people. This is clear by the decisions that this body has made, which has been antithetical to everything that community has asked for multiple times about immigration. If we want to have a serious conversation in considerations of immigration, fire McDonnell, who has always believed in collaborating with ICE to the point that he was voted out of office when he was a sheriff. And yet here this asshole is now. Arrest Brian Palacios for the murder of Keith Porter. We can't forget about the courageous and righteous Angelinos who dared to speak out and protest the fascism further descending upon us all in a supposed sanctuary city. But LAPD not only conspires with ICE, but also protects them and brutalizes protesters, including shooting a pregnant woman in the belly, shooting someone in the eye, again, brutalizing youth who walked out of school, like has been done time and time again in our history, which is what brought us here now and brought us the freedoms we currently enjoy, that are also being threatened simultaneously. We just had a press conference outside about Flock. The point, end the contract. Surveil police, not us. This is where we need to watch and track people. The police who kill and abuse our people. The police who rape people and plant evidence. The police who steal. And yet video goes missing time and time again, and it's packaged as propaganda. Video of police killing and brutalizing people go unchecked because of the likes of this body. The chief himself is refusing to enforce a state law that says that law enforcement cannot wear face coverings. This is the surveillance that we need. This is not about over-policing and over-surveillance, because let's be honest, any policing and any surveillance is too fucking much. As the federal government is mass arresting immigrants and anyone they think are immigrants.
The next speaker, please.
Thank you. Your time is up. Your time is up. You're being disruptive.
And all of this is while crime is down. Fuck y'all.
The next speaker, Megan. Megan.
Teresa gets, the more controlling she gets, the more she suppresses our speech. That's how it is with LAPD, an Orwellian nightmare at every turn. Crime is down, but you need more officers and more surveillance. LAPD can't stop shooting people, can't stop hiring pedophiles, racists, and wife beaters, but you deserve more money, right? Jeff asks whether or not LAPD is data sharing, and the chief pig swears they will audit themselves. It was already proven and reported on last year, Jeff, that ALPR data is shared with federal agents, so please stop with this liberal good white boy performance. It's nauseating. Do something that matters by quitting this commission and denouncing it as the puppet show that it is. Dozens of cities in the past year have ended their contract with Flock because of concerns of data sharing with federal immigration, but not LAPD. We all know McDonald wasn't reelected as sheriff because of his collaboration with ICE, so of course he loves any Flock equipment that he can get his hands on, donated by anyone. Flock is not safety, Flock is mass surveillance. LAPD does not provide safety, it provides surveillance and violence in service of the status quo, which in this country, from the beginning, has enslaved and murdered black and brown people to protect the wealth and power of the white ruling class. We demand that LAPD end its contract with Flock and end the mass surveillance of Angelinos. Fuck LAPD, fuck Jim McDonald, and fuck you, Jeff, for your performative bullshit.
Madam President, we have reached the 1 hour mark. We have 11 cards left.
We've reached 60 minutes and
Yes,
we have
ma'am.
9 cards left.
11.
11. We'll do 1 minute per person.
Okay. The next speaker is Mao. M-A-U.
All right, Mao.
Do I have Mao?
5 years.
Okay. The next speaker then Jamie.
So, do you think that LAPD is ever going to use Flock to track down a missing person? Fuck no. As someone observed in our community meeting last week, you are never going to catch LAPD using Flock to find any missing person, although that's what they claim they're going to use it to do. And they're certainly not going to use it to find the more than 5,000 Indigenous women who are currently reported missing in the U.S., and that's because the missing and murdered Indigenous women crisis is a genocide that LAPD exists in order to perpetuate. That genocide is one of the reasons LAPD was formed. Land and policing have been interwoven since the beginning of European conquest. The Tongva people indigenous to LA have resisted centuries of U.S. rule, which has included enslavement, extermination, and forced assimilation. Downtown LA in particular was converted into a de facto slave market of Tongva labor. Policing in America was invented in order to catch enslaved people, and that is still the function.
Your time is up. Thank you. Your time is up. Call the next person.
The next speaker, Nick Harton.
You are being disruptive. This is your first and last warning.
This is new tech. It is not a new tactic. This is a
You are continued. Officers, please remove this person.
We've fought this shit before. We will shut it down, regardless of you irrelevant, cowardly political operatives. Because we have the power. We keep us safe. Fuck law.
Call the next person.
Nick Heron, please. He left.
If you gave us all time to speak, this shit wouldn't happen.
Humaira. The next speaker, please. Humaira. Humaira Afil. The next speaker, please. Riley Bringhurst.
Excuse me. The next speaker is about to speak. Let's have some respect for the next speaker. Excuse me. Okay. Akili, you are being disruptive. Okay? Well, then you are disruptive. This is your first and last warning. This is your first and last warning. This is your first and last warning. You are being disruptive. You are to be removed. Officers, remove him, please.
And you don't give us the fucking time to speak. Fuck you. I'm being disruptive. I'm being disruptive. This is our community. Don't come in here. Don't even live here. You're not even residents here.
All right, ladies, please. You are being disruptive. I do not want to have you leave. Would you allow this person to speak? All right, this is your first and last warning. Officers, please remove these two ladies. Excuse me. You are being disruptive. This is your first and last warning. You are being disruptive. Officers, please remove this lady. You are being asked, you are going to be escorted out. Excuse me. You are being disruptive. This is your first and last warning. Let this man speak. All right. Please, have a seat. Let this man speak. Otherwise, I'm going to ask that they remove you. And I don't want to do that. Just have a seat and let this man speak. Please. Go ahead.
Hi, I came for the anti-flock demonstration. It has no place in our communities. The surveillance is only used to wage war on our communities. I also call for accountability for the murder of Jeremy Torres and the harassment and beatings of his family and the Centro CSO. Also accountability for Keith Porter and the police who tried to cover it up. They didn't even do a sobriety test of the drunk ICE agent who shot him. I also was very disturbed by someone who shared my ancestor's last name and went on an extremely racist, fascist rant about the right way to immigrate. My people came from Ireland accused of terrorism for fighting for liberation. If your family got ran out of Ireland for snitching, then keep Ireland out of your mouth. Irish Americans have been associated with racism because of fascists like you. The end game of white supremacy is people asking what kind of white you are. Irish are at the bottom. Read How the Irish Became White to learn where you stand in this world.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, Eric Anders.
then
Oh, I'm sorry.
somebody else after.
What's your name?
What is your name?
Pardon me?
Mara?
You called my name.
Okay, proceed, please.
Okay, the government has always spied on its citizens and used the information acquired to silence people saying or doing things that they don't like. Not things that are illegal, just things that they don't like, especially people fighting against exploitation, oppression, racism, and imperialism. Now the state can pretty much see and analyze everything we do in real time. Flock and other ALPRs are the backbone of that system. They need to go. You've heard from others about how the surveillance state is disproportionately targeted so many different groups because of the color of their skin, their economic status, etc. Wearing a keffiyeh will get me surveyed. My own experience is with being targeted as a Muslim. There's a long history of law enforcement sending informants into mosques and Muslim organizations. NYPD has used Flock's license plate readers to survey mosques and even Ramadan dinner gatherings at private homes. So many other examples, including right here in California. Now we have a 36-member Muslim hate caucus in Congress, many who have openly stated that they...
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you. The next speaker, Humera. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. You're next. Wait.
My name is Eric, a photographer who's been documenting the city's response to ICE since June. Chief McDonald, I read through the memo about LAPD's involvement, and based on everything that I've witnessed over the past 10 months, so here's my issue. I think that we're defining some of these terms differently. Specifically, you say officers are present only to ensure public safety, not to assist with civil immigration enforcement. What counts as assistance? I've watched people beaten, shot at, and tear gassed by LAPD so that those civil enforcement actions go as smoothly as possible. I don't know what we're pretending the word assistance means, but that is assistance. Whatever definition you're using is a dodge. Secondly, you say you work to de-escalate potential conflicts with members of the public and that you're there for public safety. The people being tackled, beaten, and carted off to detention camps to be tortured are part of the public. You are doing nothing for their safety, and in fact, you're using violence to prevent other members of the public from looking out for them because you won't. By de-escalate, you apparently mean make it as easy as possible for ICE to do their jobs. That is assistance against the public. You are complicit, and we all know it.
Thank you. Susan Price.
I can't say more than what has been said by the LA CAN and DWAC. That's your boss. You understand? That's your boss. The people of Los Angeles. But I just have to say this, with great power comes great responsibility. Is this a joke? If this is real, you gotta do better. And you got to listen to your boss and protect this city.
The next speaker, Malcolm. And okay. No, Malcolm. And the next speaker, Araya Blakely. And Madam President, we had a few duplicate cards, so this would be the last speaker.
Hello, my name is Araya Blakely. I'm a lead organizer with Students Deserve. I'm here to demand justice for Anthony Paredes, a deaf LAUSD student who was violently assaulted and detained by ICE on January 24th in downtown LA, which is down the street from where you currently are sitting. I'm here to defend students exercising their right to protest and organize against police and ICE violence in their schools and communities. No student, young person, or community member should be attacked or detained for exercising their right to protest. It's insane that young people with disabilities are disproportionately searched, handcuffed, and detained by law enforcement, period. While students organize walkouts against ICE, I've seen cops take the opportunity to offer students water and then threaten them if they don't comply with police orders. Shame on your people for taking the opportunity to market yourselves as allies or saviors when ultimately you show your true colors and purpose to criminalize, to silence, to throw people away. I'm also here to demand justice
Thank you. Your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you.
And we have no other cards?
Okay, we have reached our conclusion of the cards. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Okay, Madam Secretary, the commissioners are back.
We will now hear consent agenda items 3A through E. Would any commissioners like to hold any items? Commissioner Scobin?
Yes, 3D.
Commissioner Tabor? Would you like to hold any items from 3A through 3E? Commissioner Sanchez Gordon?
I'd like to pull item 3B.
3B. Okay, we will now be voting on items 3A, C, and E. Do we have a commissioner to move the motion to accept the recommended board actions?
There is a motion to accept the items 3A, C, and E.
Do we have a second?
Aye, with a second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Now we'll be hearing agenda item 3B relative to the Revolving Training Fund semi-annual report, July 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025.
Good morning. I'm Juan Rodarte with Training Bureau, Senior Management Analyst 2.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the one that's pulling this, and I just really have one question for you. In reviewing the department's report on the relative to the Revolving Training Fund semi-annual report, July 1, 2025 to December 31, 2025, and it's for about $1.5 million. I just want to know, how was it spent?
The majority of it is various training that is attended outside of the department. There's a list in the report that breaks down every item that was spent, that we spent money on. Some of it is post-training, some of it is mandated training that specialized units may be required to attend. On occasion, we bring in outside instructors in order to save money. We bring outside instructors to present at LAPD, so we have specialized training that comes into the department as well. So generally speaking, training of all different types.
Okay, thank you so much. Do any of the commissioners have a follow-up comment or question?
Yeah, I have a question. On the audit objectives chart on table number 1, 1A, completion of juvenile diversion program documents. It's very low on the percentage that met the standard at 24%. I'm curious specifically why we think that was so low and what will be done to correct that moving forward.
This is for a revolving training fund. I don't see that on my list here for juvenile. The item 3B.
I'm sorry, different agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tabor? No question? Okay. Well, thank you so much again for being here and for clarifying a couple of questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3B, the recommended board action is to approve the department's report. Do we have a commissioner to make the motion?
I move that consent agenda 3B be moved for action and approved.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. We'll now be hearing consent agenda item 3D, donation valued at $22,091.47. And we have Captain Rainey.
Good morning, Captain.
Good morning. Quite a few things. With the inherent danger that pursuits present, both the public and officers. I'm pleased to see that we're looking at ways to reduce this risk.
Yes, sir.
In the report, there was very little information about how the Grappler system works. So I looked online and did a little bit of research. While no system that I'm aware of stops pursuits is without some drawbacks and risks, the Grappler seems to be great potential. I support the Grappler. I do have a couple questions. One, prior to the use of the system, will the department prepare and submit for commission approval a written policy and operational guidelines regarding the Grappler?
So right now, the policy is going to stand. This tactic is covered under like a pit maneuver. So it would be attached to a piece of armor that only SWAT can use. And it's under those specific criteria that the Grappler would be used. Armed suspect is basically what we would consider a rolling barricade. So if we had a residential barricade, this would be a rolling barricade. So as far as the policy, they're the same. The criteria is the same whether it's a residence or a vehicle. So there won't be any policy change from us at this point.
Maybe I misunderstood it, but it looked like the use of this could be in some different scenarios from our policy on PIT. So I'm curious.
Correct. So there was a pursuit about 3 weeks ago that originated in Southeast. It was a shooting suspect that was believed to be armed. This is a perfect example. This one terminated in Gardena. The suspect eventually gave himself up. But this is an instance where SWAT would respond. We were responding to that incident before the individual gave himself up. And what this is designed to do is to immobilize the car so that the pursuit isn't going on for hours. So that's kind of the one of our most recent examples. Basically what it does is it drops some similar to like a basket, and it collapses either the left wheel or the right wheel in the axle, and then there's a tether that pulls and basically immobilizes the vehicle to stop it.
I also feel, based on my understanding of how we use PIT, and this is speed.
Correct.
Could be a very different. So I guess I'm curious, is there a reason why we're adopting the same policy as PIT with this, when this tool seems to be opening up our ability more than how we would use PIT?
Correct. So there's a couple reasons. One, we don't have a tactic. We don't use the pit maneuver on armed suspects. So like in that last scenario that I gave in the pursuit, we would just follow the suspect until some other means or it would terminate. But with this, we are now, because our SWAT team would use a piece of armor. So with a piece of armor, you can get close to an armed suspect's vehicle and then initiate this grappler system. So the pit is only used for 35 miles an hour and under, and for individuals that are not armed. This grappler allows us to now go after armed suspects, and the speed would be determined on the incident. You know what I mean? So if it were maybe 40 miles an hour and a larger vehicle, where our piece of armor can handle that, where a black and white would not be able to.
Maybe I'm missing something, Chief, but it seems to me that this tool might require a different policy because of the fact that our policy right now with PIT is we wouldn't use it with an armed suspect. We could use it with an armed suspect here, and we have a speed limit at 35 with PIT, whereas there may be an opportunity to allow to higher speeds. Does it not make sense to look?
Yeah, it would be under the overall policy of vehicle intervention techniques, but not exactly the same as a pit maneuver, which would be limited to 35 miles an hour and an unarmed suspect or believed to be unarmed. So it would be, I mean, if you want to, we can reevaluate, look at it and see if there are policy implications above the vehicle interdiction policy that currently addresses.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that, we're not putting ourselves out of policy.
Correct.
By using this tool. So I think to the extent that we look at that and feel there's things that I think it'd be good to come to us to review.
Okay.
And then the department report stated that the Grappler is restricted to vehicles, traditional body-on frame, such as the Bearcat, and that it's not compatible with the uniframe, which is the majority of our department vehicles.
Yes, sir.
Have we spoken with the manufacturer of the Grappler to see if there's anything in the works, product-wise, to expand to unibody?
I'm not sure if we have. I would have to check with my lieutenant. It's a possibility. I just think that for us, based on the armed suspect aspect, that it would most likely require a SWAT response anyway. Like I said before, it's a rolling barricade. So if this were a residence and this were an individual who was armed and refusing to submit to arrest or to come out of his residence, that SWAT would handle that situation and patrol wouldn't. So we've kind of designed it so that it's a SWAT response similar to a residence, just like in a vehicle.
I just think, with how dangerous pursuits are and looking at technology to improve our effectiveness, this could be a tool, even unarmed, that can be used if we were able to use it on a larger amount of our fleet. So it'd just be interesting to understand what, if anything, the manufacturer's working on, and just from a technology path moving forward.
We'll check into that, get back to you.
Okay, any other questions from the two commissioners here? Commissioner Tabor?
And I did have a question, but I think the last comment from Commissioner Salkin may have resolved it for me. So as I understand it, just to be clear for me, that the expectation is that it will only be used by SWAT, that it will only be used in the instances of armed suspects, and it'll be in the same sense as other controlled stops used in that effect. I agree with the Commissioner that to the extent that we can find out if there is anything in the works by the manufacturer, or if there are modifications that the manufacturer would consider that would expand our ability to use it in other higher than 35-mile-an-hour stops, that would be a unique tool, and a tool that then could be used throughout the department, not only by SWAT. Is the department aware, or your team aware of any other similar technology out there, or is Grappler so unique that it only applies in this instance?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just a Grappler that does this, and their team is going to come here and train our folks and apply it to our vehicles. So, along with our motor transport folks as well, so everyone is in the loop of how it works and how to repair it if needed.
And then my question that I had separate from this, with respect to training, use of the Grappler, how many officers now are familiar with the technology and have gone through the training and applied it? What's the availability?
So right now we have 2 SWAT officers that are familiar with the system, and Grappler is going to send 2 of their representatives to train 2 of our folks who will be our subject matter experts, and those 2 will train the entire SWAT team.
And then, all right, and then I guess for those of us who are concerned about liability and insurance, what's the process now for bringing this online and with respect to both our own internal accountability and then liability?
So Grappler's ready to bring it. They've as far as this is laid out, they're ready to bring their techs and their training staff here to apply it to our armor and train our folks and bring it into use.
I have no further question. Thank you.
Anything?
I have one final
Okay,
question.
Commissioner Scobin?
In reading, I noticed a number of police departments have received government grants for purchase and training relative to the Grappler. Have we looked into any such grants?
I would have to get back to you, sir. I just know that they went to the foundation on this one. I don't know if there were any governmental requests. I can find out for you, though.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, without anything further, I thank you very much, and I thank the commissioners for your questions and seeking clarification on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The recommended board action is to approve the department's report. Do we have a commissioner to make the motion?
Want to make the motion?
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to regular agenda item 4A, verbal presentation on the immigration update, and we have Deputy Chief Hurtado. And Director Bowers.
Good morning to the President of the Board of Police Commissioners, President Sanchez, the entire Board of Honorable Police Commissions, Chief McDonald, Inspector General Barragan. Absolutely.
Good morning, everyone. Terry Bowers, Director of the Constitutional Policing and Policy Bureau.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. This is a report that we've all been looking forward to receiving from both of you, and we did get the updated policy this morning and had the opportunity to review it. And Deputy Chief Hurtado, I welcome you and also thank you for being here. There's a lot of questions, a lot of information that not only the commission is seeking, but also the community. And you are our point person, and we all look forward to working with you. And there's also some community stakeholders who are very interested in what you're going to say and how we plan to interact with the communities and with LAPD. So we are anxiously awaiting your report and how it applies to the city of Los Angeles.
Okay.
You may proceed.
Today marks the first report for the Board of Police Commissioners regarding incidents in which department officers have documented or received reports of suspected unlawful conduct by immigration enforcement agents. This complies with the Mayor's Executive Directive number 17. This presentation was scheduled prior to this executive directive to the report for the Police Commission on the efforts of immigration-related efforts and the training behind this actual initiative. So we're going to present in 3 parts because we have the executive directive, we have the actual calls for service for January and February, and then we also have the incentives or the education portion that LAPD has taken part in immigration education. So first, I'm going to discuss the notice of the office from the Office of Chief Police responding to incidents involving federal immigration enforcement actions, which has been revised and published today. It complies with Mayor Karen Bass's Executive Directive number 17, protecting Angelenos from ongoing dangerous federal immigration operations. The Executive Directive highlights 8 categories where the department was directed to adopt the mayor's directives, and out of those 8 categories, 4 were already in our policies and our practices. Now I'm going to go through the first few directives. Like I said, 4 were already implemented. Would you like me to go through each one, or just the ones that we added to the actual notice?
I think in light of the fact that this has raised so much concern for the community and all those that are watching this and will watch it in the near future, I think we need to break it down so that it's understood by everyone what was then, what was now, and how we're going to move forward on the ED 17. So if you don't mind, let's go over those 4 that are already in policy and included in the ED 17.
Absolutely. So the Mayor's Executive Directive number 17 instructed all department officers at the scene of an immigration enforcement action to use their body-worn cameras to record the event and to preserve the video and tag it. To the office, the Chief Police noticed there was no change. It had already been covered. And that's in page 1, bullet number 2. If you want to go through that, or I'll just name them. Okay. The second one,
No, Chief, could you elaborate on that, please, before you move on to the second?
All right. Okay, so this one, the Mayor's Executive Directive instructed all LAPD officers that respond to scene of where there's immigration enforcement to actually face the actual officers that are, the federal officers that are there, and record with their body-worn video the actions that the federal agents are conducting. Then after this is recorded, it's documented into the CAD system. The officers write notes, they tag the video, and it's preserved on evidence.com in case there's, for any future use. This was already being implemented in the directive that was written in December of 2025.
Thank you.
Okay. The next one instructed the department supervisor at each immigration enforcement scene where the department officers are present, identify, when tactically safe, the on-scene supervisory immigration officer or attempt to verify the supervisory officer's name and badge number. And this also had no change because it was already written in the notice that was written in December of 2025. That notice said to attempt to verify the credentials of on-scene supervisor agents and to ensure officers request the identification of federal agents. Supervisors shall conform with all verification attempts and response and capture it on body-worn video also. So that was already into the chief's notice in December. The third one was, the request was to reaffirm the instructions that all department officers take measures to maintain the peace by using department-approved tactics and techniques to de-escalate potential conflicts with members of the public. This also had no change into the chief's notice. We used de-escalation tensions. The officers should act and maintain the peace by utilizing department-approved tactics and techniques to escalate potential conflicts with members of the public. And again, this was no change, was already in the notice from December. The fourth category was to instruct all department officers to provide a clear communication to bystanders, reassuring them of the department's neutral role and explaining that the officers are present only to ensure the public safety and not to assist with any immigration enforcement. Again, this had no change in the current notice that was written in December because it was already in there. The fifth prong was to instruct all department officers to summon emergency medical assistance to render aid to anyone injured at the scene of immigration enforcement. Now, this was not in the notice, but it is part of our policy. But for the mayor's directive was asking to put it in, actually in our notice, so it was added. When made aware that a member of the public has sustained injury at the scene of an immigration enforcement, officers shall request emergency medical assistance. Officers shall also render aid when practical. But again, this was all part of our policy and part of what the police officers do every day and request medical aid. Number 6 was to instruct all department officers who receive information from the public regarding the conduct of immigration agents that constitutes apparent violation of law or state law or local law shall be required to notify their supervisors who will ensure that a report was taken. This was already in the note, but we had an update in the language of it, and that language was updated to ensure all applicable crime reports are taken and submitted to the watch commander for approval. The 7th was to ensure that the department continues to preserve and label evidence relating to all immigration enforcement incidents and in the call's disposition summary, videos, repositories, and other reports, and to make referral of any felony matters to the California Attorney General or the Los Angeles County District Attorney. This was already in the chief's notice, but there was a language update, and that language update was that watch commanders should also review all related crime reports and ensure that related video evidence is tagged properly. Area commanding officers shall also ensure that all submitted reports pertaining to immigration enforcement are referred to the appropriate entity for criminal filing considerations. And the 8th prong was to instruct the department, to the extent allowed by law, to publicly report aggregated data regarding incidents in which the department officers have documented or received reports of suspected unlawful conduct by immigration officers or agents. The report shall be made to the Board of Police Commissioners and the Office of the Mayor no less than monthly, and more frequently as based on the level of immigration enforcement activity. And exactly, this is the opportunity for the DAO to present this type of information on a monthly basis here at the Police Commission. That's what we're here doing today. So that was the portion of today's visit regarding the Mayor's Executive Directive, number 17. I'm open to any questions. Also, Mr. Bowers is here to answer any questions who actually wrote the policy.
Okay, Mr. Bowers, it's good to see you, and thank you so much for working on this updated response to incidents involving federal immigration enforcement actions. I do have a couple of questions, excuse me, and either of you can answer. Please describe the protocols already in place for officers and supervisors responding to calls for service related to immigration enforcement. How have the protocols been updated in light of the Mayor's Executive Order 17?
Okay. Well, I think if you look at the second prong, instructs the department supervisors at immigration enforcement where officers are present to identify where tactically safe and at the attempt to verify the supervisors of the federal agents by their name and their badge number. This morning, that notice was updated and posted. It's the Office of the Chief of Police notice, and it's dated today's date. And its response to incidents involving federal immigration enforcement actions has been revised twice now. Now, how we respond, how LAPD responds hasn't changed, only really the language that was directed by the mayor's office to put into this actual notice.
If I might also point out, it's hard to write down or even, can you hear? Sorry.
Yeah, speak into the mic, please.
But the officers themselves have a change of attitude, a change of perception, and a change of attention because some of these additional requirements. So when they come on the scene, they have a much wider survey that they're conducting as a result of this. And so you're probably seeing a greater awareness and focus on things that are pertaining to this that they wouldn't have otherwise.
A lot of the responses you see, there's going to be improvements, and you continue to see them since we started the AIC program, the Area Immigration Coordinator Program that we started in October of 2025, which we have 2 AICs per division. They're actually providing roll call training to every single officers. From January and February, we had 300 roll calls. Where the AICs and the AIC leads, which are captains, have went to each division or at each division have conducted roll call to ensure that the officers knowing exactly what to say, how to communicate with the public, how to communicate with the federal agents, how to communicate when they're out there and telling people exactly that they're there and they're neutral to that cause and they're there to just provide the safety to the community, to actually utilize their body-worn camera and to try to capture or even de-escalate any tension there is from the community, the federal agents, or with the officers themselves. But we're trying to really push the education portion for the officers to go out there and start speaking to the community when there is such federal enforcement actions, and to let them know exactly what LAPD's stance is that we don't participate in any civil immigration enforcement.
Okay, Chief, would you be able to tell us as of December or January of this year, how many calls for service
Yes.
have occurred? And are there any particular areas within the city of LA where you receive most of those calls from?
Correct. So in January and February, surprisingly, we had no calls in February, but in January we did have 8 calls. 1 in Harbor Division, 2 in Rampart, 1 in Southeast, 1 in Olympic, and 3 in Northeast. The 3 that happened Northeast were close at the Home Depot, which we saw a lot of those on different social media. But I do have the information if you'd like me to go over or gloss over exactly what it was. We also had 2 crime reports written by officers for such a federal enforcement action.
You can elaborate.
Okay, so the first call was on January the 1st, and that was in Harbor Division, where a person, a PR called and said that ICE was hurting people. There was also a duplicate call, so there was 2 calls made, and there was also a backup by ICE agents due to a hostile crowd that was surrounding them. Communications divisions did a callback with Homeland Security, and they had already advised that they have cleared the location. By the time that the officers arrived, there was no one there left at scene. On January 9th, there was, sorry, is there any questions on that one before I move on?
Well, you said hostile crowd. Who put that word, who
Yeah.
labeled that crowd hostile?
I don't know who actually did it, but it was somebody that was calling Communications Division.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So it's indicated in the comments.
You may proceed.
So January 9th, there were 2 calls in Rampart. The person reporting called and was generated for possible immigration enforcement in progress. He advised that the subject was that he saw a gentleman walking out of a grocery store, and he was detained by two unidentified individuals that approached him in masks and green fatigues, and they escorted him to a vehicle. There was no officers assigned to this call because communications did a callback before we were even able to get there, and the PR had also left the location, was unable to provide any feedback to that. Okay. The second call in Rampart was a call that they advised it was 4 agents in masks circling the area, driving in a black SUV. The PR did not stop at the location. They were just passing by. They just made the notification to Communications Division, and there was no officers assigned to that call. On January 12th, there was 2 kidnapping calls. This was in Northeast. The PR called about a kidnapping, but provided the description of suspects wearing police vests and army fatigues. The PR stated that 2 victims were taken from the area. The officers responded, and they met with the PR and determined that the incident was ICE enforcement. The PR stated that her father and another taco vendor were taken by ICE, and no report was taken due to the video that was captured showed that it was actual ICE agents. There was another call in Northeast. The PR called about the same thing, 2 males wearing face masks and camouflage clothing who dragged a gardener into a vehicle and drove off. It was unknown if they were ICE agents or who exactly it was, and the officers in that case, they took a kidnapping report, which was later unfounded by detectives once they determined that it was federal enforcement activity. On January 17th in Southeast, PR requested the police to respond, stating that he was assaulted by ICE agents with a mask. The PR also claimed that they have video of ICE agents yelling racial slurs. Additional comments alleged that he sustained head and neck and hand injuries. The officers met with the PR, who stated that ICE was chasing somebody and inadvertently knocked him over. And he hit his head. He was there holding an ice pack, and the officers did summon medical for the gentleman, and that they cleared the scene once they realized that it was a federal enforcement action. On January 27th, there was one call of a kidnapping in Northeast. There was one, the PR called and stated that a male Hispanic was taken by 2 masked males wearing green and brown paramilitary uniforms. Okay, roger that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't.
I said there was
There's a
they want us to hold off on some of this information that's been shared, but we've had 8 calls. Okay.
Okay, and most of them were in January.
Correct.
All right, I have a couple of more questions.
Yes.
Actually, I have several. Do any of the commissioners have a follow-up comment or question on that particular subject that was just covered?
Yeah, I think it's important, I know this is the first one, but I think it's important to level set what information we can expect to receive and on what cadence we can expect to see it. So can you clarify that expectation?
The information regarding
the number of incidents that are happening by division.
Yeah, so the mayor's directive number 17 stated that it should be at least once a month, that the dial from each department become and present this to the Board of Police Commissions.
And so is that what the
It's once
plan
a month.
is?
Once a month.
Okay, and
anything that would risk the safety or future effectiveness of officers or of victims, anything like that, that should be disclosed.
of course, but the spirit of transparency, especially in this situation, is at the forefront. So I think it's imperative that, not only do we get that report, if there's the ability to get that report more than once a month, I think we should push ourselves to try to accomplish that. And, we should hopefully get as much information, and the public should get as much information as possible and safe and legal for the sake of transparency.
Of course.
Commissioner Tabor? Any comment?
I want to go back to some of your earlier comments. Number 6 and number 7, can you singularly read 6 for me?
Number 6 and
While
7,
while
I'm
you're
sorry.
looking, I'm sorry.
Number 6 and 7, I'm sorry.
Yes, and if you would read 6, I want to ask you, was 6 prior to or subsequent to the mayor's directive?
6 was already in the notice from December of 2025. The only thing that it included was a language update, and that language was updated as to ensure all applicable crime reports are taken and submitted to the watch commander for approval.
Okay, so, so would you read 6 for me?
I'm sorry, sir?
Would you read, I'm sorry, read 6 for me, as,
Read 6 for you. One second. Well, that's actually the update, exactly what I just read. The update says, ensure all applicable crime reports are taken and submitted to the watch commander for approval.
okay, I'm sorry, I thought there was a section that you read that described the officers' use of their body-worn camera and their ability subsequently to write down any notes to become part of the report. That, and if that wasn't 6, then I'm sorry.
No, that would be, that's one of the other ones, but it's not number 6.
It's number 1.
Number 1, instruct all department officers at the scene of immigration enforcement action to use their body-worn camera to record the event and to preserve the video. So that's the first change or addition to the mayor's executive directive.
Okay, and I want to go back just so that I'm clear on how that process works. And this may be a teaching moment for me, so.
Yes, sir.
please accept it. Officers respond to the call, or officers receive the call that ICE has begun a process. They arrive at the location. At the time that they exit the vehicle, is that when the body-worn camera comes on, or does it come on at some point later? Based on this type of event, you know, we don't know whether crime's being created, whether somebody's being inappropriately detained. We just now know from the call that it was, or that it is an instance where ICE is engaging with the public.
So your question is when the officers turn on their body-worn video when responding to any call?
Yes.
Yes, so the officers will generally turn it on when they're responding to the call, if they're responding code 3, so it could capture the actual response to that. But at the latest, it should be turned on before they exit the vehicle, or as they exit the vehicle. They're not going to turn it on in the middle of a conversation. The directive, the policy says that they should turn it on as they're exiting before they make any contact.
Okay, and then, thank you. And then what I'm trying to visualize is ICE is doing, for the vernacular of this conversation, doing whatever they're doing. Officer arrives on scene. Are we expecting officers to interrupt or to identify the appropriate person representing ICE to gain information about who they are, who the other officers are?
So the officers are not going to interrupt the actions of another law enforcement agency. They're there to keep the peace. They're ensure that the public knows that it's not LAPD and the LAPD does not participate in civil immigration. Their job is to arrive at the scene and to ensure that they are law enforcement officers and they're conducting their official business.
So in this instance, then it would be officers have a tactical plan, arrive on the scene, one officer collects information, other officer observes, they come back. At any point that I'm wrong, I want to be corrected, so I'm just trying to understand it, because I think the public are concerned about, or they see it as LAPD assisting. They don't see it as LAPD gathering data, gathering information. And certainly have not seen it as LAPD gathering evidence.
Correct. Yes, and that's part of the education process that we're trying with the AICs. It's to ensure that the public is well informed exactly what our policy is, our stance is on immigration. So when an officer does get there to the scene, they are going to identify the officers by their name, their badge, or however it is. They're going to identify their supervisor, and as soon as they realize or they identify that they are federal law enforcement officers conducting their duties, we're just there to keep the peace.
Has it, to your knowledge, has it been the occasion that in the instance where we've been told by the public that there was no identification. The ICE people didn't identify themselves in anything, or they're wearing a mask or whatever. That we've been able to identify who is the leader that can give us the information about.
Yeah. We've never had issues identifying any federal, for any federal officer. Every situation that I've seen and that I know of, that LAPD officers have responded, they've been cooperative, and they've had the information available, or they've given us the information.
Okay, and then final question about this, in this process. Once the report is prepared, body worn camera evidence, notes from the officer, information is uploaded to evidence.com. What's the process of the public accessing the information should there be some issue about litigation or some decision about litigation?
I would, depending on what the situation is, if there's a use of force involved, I would say they'd probably need a subpoena or at least a CPA request, but that's done at a later time through our risk management section. Yes.
All right, thank you. That sort of wraps all the questions that I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Deputy Chief Hurtado, you've mentioned, you've outlined 8 categories, and you've stated that that 4 had already been implemented as of December 2025, and that other 4 have been updated. Is there anything else besides those that are important for the committee and for you to outline for us and the community as to what else your program that you are working on is doing in this effort to conduct these practices within the community, LAPD, and ICE? Anything else?
Are you meaning as the education portion to the community? Or
Well, I'm really
just the
trying to get-
actual categories that the mayor's directive from the?
I want to get to the program that you are heading,
Okay.
the lead program, and tell us what has been going on since January, since it began, and how it works together with the policies, the updated policies of the mayor, ED 17, and what can we expect moving forward?
So I did have a write-up, if I may. I wanted to present the LAPD's efforts on the important issues that affect families and Los Angeles communities across the city. Obviously, working on trust and education. LAPD is doing the right thing, but I think a lot of the community members don't understand exactly what our policy is. So LAPD has put forth efforts to educate the community, and that starts with our officers. Specifically, we want to teach the role of police and civil immigration enforcement in Los Angeles in particular, and the department's education efforts on how LAPD does not participate in civil immigration. In Los Angeles or in California, local and state police are not immigration agents. The job of a police officer is to keep the community safe, investigate crimes, and protect everyone in the city of Los Angeles, regardless of where they were born or their immigration status. This separation is intentional and exists for a very important reason. It's trust. Since 1979, the Los Angeles Police Department has understood how important this is. And now, since 2018, under the California Values Act, or SB 54, law enforcement is prohibited from assisting federal immigration authorities with civil immigration arrests or deportations. This means that the police do not ask people about their immigration status, they do not detain people for immigration reasons, and they do not help immigration or customs enforcement conduct immigration raids. When people are afraid that calling the police could lead to deportations, crime goes unreported. Victims stay silent, witnesses disappear, communities become less safe for everyone. California lawmakers did recognize this, and the public safety depends on trust between residents and law enforcement. If immigrants, documented or undocumented, are afraid to call the police, then the criminals benefit and not the communities. By separating police from immigration enforcement, California ensures that people can report violence, theft, robbery, abuse, and people can call 911 workers that need help for exploitation, and survivors can speak up. This policy does not mean that LAPD ignores crime. Police still arrest people who commit crime regardless of their immigration status, and courts still operate. In the limited cases involving serious and violent felonies, in cooperation with federal authorities may still exist under the law and our policies, but everyday policing is focused on safety and not immigration. LAPD has made it clear that immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility, not a local policing function. Local police officers are trained to serve their communities, not to act as immigration agents. In short, when police do not help with immigration arrests, it's not about protecting criminals, it's about protecting communities. It's about making sure that everyone feels safe enough to seek help, report crime, and participate in everyday civic life. Public safety works best when fear is replaced with trust. And in Los Angeles, that trust has saved lives. Now I wanted to discuss the actual efforts by the Los Angeles police officers in an education effort to the community. LAPD has selected a full-time immigration coordinator, Dial, and a Dial Assist. LAPD has implemented the Area Immigration Coordinator, or the AIC program, which is 2 senior lead officers per division. LAPD has updated the frequently asked questions in English and Spanish. We've updated the information section, and it's now provided in English and Spanish on lapd.line.org Get Services. We are currently translating 8 into our frequently asked question pamphlets into 8 different languages. We've printed large posters with QR codes that give everybody information on LAPD's immigration stance and have frequently asked questions. LAPD, we've also selected 5 captains to assist as AAC leads. Each captain is ensuring that we have consistent and verifying that the training goes out through each bureau. So far, since October 25, we've held a symposium which served several agencies all around Los Angeles County, where we had about 12 other agencies that want to form a similar program to the AICs that we have. Right now, we have Special Order Number 1. We're at 94% that the officers took it. So the Chief of Police noticed that December, 95% of the officers have taken it. Notice that came out in December was 95%, and then the one in July of 2025, we're at 94%, but that's going to be revised by the one that just came out today. Since January of 2026, we've attended 130 community events where we have taught the community what LAPD stance is on immigration. The AICs has taught this at 300 roll calls. I've attended 45 events, and North Hollywood had a big event where they give out bicycles to entice people to come and to participate in the education of LAPD's stance on immigration. We're also going to be holding a town hall in September for Hispanic Heritage Month. And now all community police academies will have a block of immigration, every single one that's taught within the city, and to educate on our stance in immigration. All stations have the QR codes, and Captain Castillo has came out on a radio show in the morning and promoted LAPD stance on immigration, where he actually fielded a lot of phone calls from the community. Invited everybody to attend citizen academies throughout the city, where we'll be teaching about immigration. And for the month of March and April, we'll be concentrating on places of worship and ensuring that the citizens are informed that LAPD does not participate in any civil immigration. And so far, part of the directive was that notice any violations or concerns, which there has been none.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I think it's important that we sort of break it down a little bit more. You gave us a lot of information.
Correct.
And I think that everything that Dial is doing is a great step forward in our community, but there's so much more that all of us need to do. But I think how I want to proceed next is just to read what Dial is, so that everybody understands what you're talking about and what is out there, what LAPD has, and the efforts that are being made to work directly with the community. So Dial, and I'm reading from the updated the response to incidents involving federal immigration enforcement action revised. It says the Department Immigration Affairs responsibilities. The dial shall be responsible for providing a public report to the Board of Police Commissioners no less than monthly.
Correct.
And more frequently as based on the level of immigration enforcement activity, as you stated. The report shall contain, to the extent allowed by law, aggregated data regarding incidents in which department officers have documented or received reports of suspected unlawful conduct by immigration enforcement agents. The office of the mayor shall be provided the same report no less than monthly and more frequently as based on the level of immigration activity. So with that the description of dial and what you've just stated, informing us all the efforts that are being made in the community with law enforcement agencies, all the outreach that you do on a regular basis throughout the city of Los Angeles. I guess I need to know, with all of that has occurred, what have been the results? Give me some examples of results that have decreased the level of fear in the immigrant community and increased the level of trust between the community and LAPD, which I think is a paramount issue in all of this dealing with dial. And I really applaud you for that effort, because I think it's going to make an impact. Baby steps, but we're moving forward. But if you could just tell us, what have been the results? Give us some examples.
So I have had, when I speak to some of the officers or the AICs, I'll give you a couple examples. I was talking to some central senior lead officers who actually had a Citizens Academy, and they actually taught exactly LAPD's policy. A part of the training, we do give the officers PowerPoints so they can show. We have PowerPoints for roll calls, we have PowerPoints for the academies, and then we give them all these different pamphlets that they can give out at these training sessions that they have for the community. And a lot of people are very surprised to learn that there's the criminal immigration and there's the civil immigration side, and they never understood that there was actual separation to civil immigration and criminal immigration. One person was in particular had told one of the senior lead officers that they're glad that they got the information and they were going to take it back. I forgot exactly where they worked, but there was a lot of people at his work that they were concerned to go to work because they thought that LAPD actually did work with immigration, or they also participated because they have what they have seen. And he was saying that now he wanted one of the senior lead officers to do a presentation at his work, which was over in the garment factory, to tell people that LAPD does not participate in civil immigration. So the feedback that I've received directly from the officers that have been speaking in the communities has been extremely positive. The people that are willing to listen, the people that are willing to understand and allow us to explain our policies, it's been nothing but positive.
I applaud you on that, but I think that we keep hearing from the community that issues surrounding mutual aid and the presence of LAPD and the perception that LAPD is working with ICE. And so I think we, through DIAL, hopefully, we will begin to restore a better level of trust in the community with that. There's also issues surrounding how LAPD's presence at these INS sightings and activity create a lot of untrust in the community. So you've already mentioned a couple of things that DIAL is doing, but I think that we need to move forward. The immigrant community really is at a loss in their concern that LAPD is not doing enough to create this division between ICE and LAPD, and that they're still fearful that they can't call LAPD for help. Tell us again, what efforts has LEAP done to assure this a group of in our community that they in fact, and in Spanish too, that they in fact can call 911 and seek assistance, and that LAPD is not going to refer that call to ICE.
Like I explained earlier, we've went to 130.
Just slow it down though, so that everybody
Oh, absolutely.
understands. You
So-
said a lot.
Absolutely. Well, the officers in LAPD have done a lot, so it was a lot of information. But to go out to community events, the officers have done 130 different community events. That could be anywhere from fairs or any event where they're having with the community, and the officers have gone there and they gave an educational piece on exactly LAPD's role is in immigration. For the officers that have gone there, we've also taught at 300 different roll calls to the officers to actually how to interact during these federal enforcement calls. We did work. I'm working currently in a mayor's task force where there's different community organizations like CHIRLA, and they've given us suggestions of what they've seen and what they do receive information from the community. And when they do see LAPD arriving to that scene, one of the suggestions was rather than to show up and show a skirmish line, to just show up and start speaking to the community in a tone and in a manner where they're understanding and they're just explaining to the community what our role is exactly there, and it's to keep the peace and to de-escalate the situation or de-escalate the incident. So we're working forward with that. We're having different community events, and like I said, we came out on the radio. And hopefully that reached a lot of people. But one thing that we have learned, that regardless of how much we do go out there and teach, there's some people that don't want to believe that. But we think for the majority, we're making an impact. And we're also asking all our SLOs to go to churches on Sunday, then to ask the priests if they could speak, or different community or religious events, not just churches, but to actually go and if they could give them a 5-minute block during or after church, during Mass, to actually speak to the community, the congregation, about LAPD's policies on immigration.
Thank you, Chief. There is an important segment of our population, which is the coalition of sanctuary groups that have worked with the mayor's office, and I'm sure that they've worked with you. You just mentioned one, CHIRLA. But I think there's so many that want to make sure that the community is protected and that we increase their level of trust in the community. What do you think of the idea of inviting someone from that sanctuary coalition to inform you and us, the commission, the chief, of what they see in the community? In my opinion, I think that they bring in information that I think builds on what you've said, builds on what LEAP does, and builds on what we want to know. We're in the community. We live in this city, but there are other parts of the city that we just that are going through things that we just don't know about. But the sanctuary group does. They have the information, the response teams, the support. So, are you willing to continue to work with these groups and maybe meet with them and 2 heads, 3 heads are better than one, and provide us with the information and that we may need to make this better, because we want to do better. Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually, this week I'm meeting with one of the organizers of Cielo, which is an organization based on some of the indigenous groups that are here in Los Angeles from different rural areas of Mexico and South America. During this meeting, I can invite her to the next police commission, if you like. But I meet with different groups, probably on a weekly basis, and they give me the information and the feedback from their communities and their concerns. But also I'll give them the information of exactly what LAPD does and how it does not participate in civil immigration. I think we can always do better, and we're willing to do better, and we're also willing to listen to anyone who could give us advice so we can make our responses much better for the community.
I'm happy to hear that you are open to receiving their comments and perspective. I think the commission here would also be very welcoming to their perspective and better inform us too. So I think that we're going to perhaps invite them here and we all work together and address those issues that are of most concern to our community. Commissioners, do you have any further comment? Anything that you'd like to ask of Chief Hurtado?
Just that I shared with Deputy Chief as we walked in earlier that there are organizations that I'm aware of that are working with immigrant populations and that have both podcasts and other digital media they share information with. So I'm making the introduction, and now I reached out to a couple of people who will be reaching out to you, Deputy Chief.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Commissioner Scobin?
Yeah, related. I read an article, came out in late February, Chief, where you were reported that LAPD assisted a federal agency in a human trafficking matter in Newton, some other departments. For my own edification, can you help me understand the difference between human trafficking and human smuggling?
I think it's just semantics. It's the same thing. Smuggling and trafficking people from other countries into the United States for sexual exploitation or work exploitation is basically the same thing. There could be difference in definitions that I'm not aware of, but as I know it, it's smuggling and trafficking are the same thing. Bringing human beings into the United States.
If I could just add on to that a little bit, human smuggling is taking somebody, in the case that in the context we're talking about here, would be bringing somebody over the border. Human trafficking could be bringing them over the border, but then in addition, trafficking them for purposes of exploitation, labor, sexual exploitation, which is what we're focused on here. Both labor and sexual exploitation. Our human trafficking task force is addressing that on a daily basis.
So that for clarity, it would be accurate to say that we have worked with a federal agency on human trafficking situations.
HSI is probably one of the better partners for police agencies around the country in dealing with human trafficking. And not just, when I say human trafficking, I think people tend to think of somebody from another country being exploited here, but oftentimes what we see in Los Angeles, our own kids are being dragged into this lifestyle that is horrible. But when the trafficking, I think, connotation in the context of Los Angeles is most often our own kids from our own communities.
Thank you.
I do have a question for the Inspector General as it relates to what the chief has talked about, what Terry Bowers has reviewed in the revised protocol. Mr. Inspector General, Mr. Barragan, can you describe what your office will be doing to monitor as the oversight, as the watchdog, to monitor the department's compliance with the terms of the Executive Directive number 17?
Yes, I'm glad to follow up on that. As I announced at the last meeting, we are initiating an audit and have asked for notification where the department engages in incidents with immigration enforcement. We will review how the department is identifying those incidents and the criteria they're using. We'll also review all body worn from those incidents and review the executive directive and department policy to ensure that our officers out in the field are complying with what the board, the mayor, and policy dictates as for the response for each incident. And we will report back to this Board of Police Commissioners regularly as well in coordination with the department. We're still engaged in those discussions about how how regularly those meetings will be, and what we learn will dictate the type of reports and information that we'll share in this room.
Thank you so much. I also, any questions for the Inspector General on that issue?
Only to add that I hope in those audits that we do take into account social media and what's so available for us to look at there. We obviously have limited resource. You have limited resources, but there's a lot of concerned observers and people out in the community that are documenting things and capturing things on video. So I hope that we're paying close attention to that as well.
And I will share, Commissioner Scobin, as part of the ICE task force, my office meets regularly with the department's Professional Standards Bureau to provide information that we learn through social media about uses of force or complaints related to protests around ICE enforcement. And through this effort as well, we will be able to share with the department on an ongoing basis areas we feel should be flagged.
Thank you, Mr. Barragan. I also have a question for the Executive Director, Mr. Sibley. Mr. Sibley, what is the status of the provisions of Executive Directive number 17 that requires specific action by this commission?
Yes, Commissioner. So there's a section of Executive Directive 17, it's section C, entitled Identification of Federal Immigration Agents. And it talks about California Senate Bills 627 and 805, which are also known as the No Secret Police Act and the No Vigilantes Act. And it has some requirements for the Police Commission once the status of those two Senate bills is resolved. They're both currently under appeal, and while that appeal is ongoing, or while those appeals are ongoing, there's an injunction preventing their enforcement. So once that legal process has run its course, and dependent upon the outcome of those processes, the executive directive requires the following. So number one, the mayor's requesting that the commission inquire into all law enforcement agencies operating within the city to confirm they have timely public posted written policies regarding the use of facial coverings and visible identification of sworn personnel consistent with the requirements of California Senate Bills 627 and 805. The mayor requests that the police commission file a verified written challenge to any law enforcement agency that's not in compliance with those bills. And number two, that the commission direct the chief to publish a directive to department officers about compliance and enforcement of the legal requirements in California Senate Bills 627 and 805. So we'll continue to monitor the progress of the appeals relative to those two Senate bills, and once the outcome is determined, we can determine what the next steps need to be.
Okay, that sounds like the best way to manage this. We'll just wait for the court's final ruling. Excuse me. All right, do the commissioners have any further questions of Deputy Chief Hurtado or Mr. Bowers? Chief, would you like to chime in on any of this?
No, just a thank you to the community members who have come forward and shared their thoughts and their concerns, and we've tried to be able to, as best we can, tailor our responses to the needs of all of our communities. Thankful as well to Chief Hurtado and our team that have been educating our officers throughout the department on policies and protocols, and the work that's been done that really goes unseen, and he alluded to it, but on a daily basis, we're interacting with the public, trying to be able to explain what LAPD's position is relative to civil immigration enforcement. We've gone to churches and community groups, and every chance we get on TV, both the TV that serves the English-speaking community as well as the foreign language community, to be able to get the word out there as best we can. And I can't tell you how many times we have done this, but it's kind of an ongoing practice that we want to be able to let everybody know that LAPD is there for everybody.
Thank you, Chief. I think we all have our work cut out for us. It's a new era for the city of LA under the Executive Order 17, Directive 17. We have our marching orders, and I look forward to working with you, Chief Hurtado, and of course, under the direction of the chief, with the commissioners to make this a successful and a long-lasting effort, and that we really are, we work in goodwill with, in the spirit of goodwill, and under the leadership of the mayor in directing and identifying those areas that are important to our immigrant community. And I want to thank you and express my appreciation, Chief, and to Mr. Bowers. And I look forward really to working with you. And I think I speak on behalf of the commissioners that are present and not here. And I know that Commissioner Garcia has worked very closely with you on the program, the DIAL program. But we look forward to doing all of this to build trust within the immigrant communities. And also, I'd like to let the chief know that I would like to work with you, Chief, in organizing regular community forums, also with the deputy chief here, with Fado, on organized regular community forums with key stakeholders and organizations, and you've already identified some. But I think we have a lot more work to do, and I look forward to working with you on that. I think these meetings will help us better understand the concerns, share accurate information, and ensure that we remain open to making any necessary adjustments to better serve the community. So again, thank you, Deputy Chief Hurtado. You are really, I take my hat off to you, because not only being in charge of central operations at Central, you're also doing, I think, a very good work, very good effort in the DIAL program. And I think that it's going to reap very positive results in our community. And I know that, like myself, you have an immigrant story. And with that, I think that we have our heart in the right place, and we all want to do well to serve our community, to serve the immigrant community in LA, be it Spanish-speaking or any other language. So again, without any further questions from the commission, I thank you very much for your presentation.
We'll move on to agenda item 4B, relative to audit number 25-004 Juvenile Division Diversion Database.
Good morning, Commander Jay Mastic. I'm the Assistant Commanding Officer of the Fourth Division.
Office of Operations Auditor.
Detective Garcia, Audit Division.
Today, I'm going to provide a brief overview of our Juvenile Division Diversion Database Audit conducted in accordance with Department's 2025 Annual Audit Plan. And in 2013, the Detective Bureau standardized the Juvenile Arrest Diversion Program to formalize diversion procedures. In 2019, a Chief of Detectives notice further clarified policies.
Lieutenant, excuse me.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think the mics are on. We're having a hard time on the other end.
I see.
Picking up what you're reporting on.
Mine's got a green light. Can you guys hear me?
Everybody
Okay,
green?
good.
All right, great. Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption.
No, that is no problem. That's no problem. Okay, so I'll just go back just a second here. So today I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Juvenile Division Diversion Database Audit, which was conducted in accordance with the Department's 2025 Annual Audit Plan. In 2013, the Detective Bureau standardized the Juvenile Arrest Diversion Program to formalize diversion procedures. In 2019, a Chief of Detectives Notice further clarified policies and procedural requirements to ensure consistent implementation department-wide. This audit examined whether the department is properly documenting, tracking, and enforcing compliance within the Juvenile Arrest Diversion Program, a program designed to provide first-time, nonviolent juvenile offenders an opportunity for rehabilitation while maintaining accountability. The audit tested 5 objectives across 2 primary areas, which include completion of juvenile diversion program documentation, compliance with criminal filing requirements, completion and accuracy of juvenile diversion database, and the accurate completion of juvenile detention logs, specifically as it relates to documentation of the timely release of juveniles from detention and that the juvenile was released to the proper entity. The audit identified low compliance in 3 objectives. 24% for completion of juvenile diversion program documents, which primarily reflected missing or incomplete diversion documentation within the case packages. 73% for compliance with criminal filing requirements, which is related to the required criminal filing notifications when juveniles failed diversion. 80% for completion and accuracy of the juvenile database, which reflected data entry errors or incomplete database records. Important to note, compliance related to detention time limits and proper juvenile release was 99%, demonstrating a very strong adherence to custodial safeguards and legal requirements. Audit Division met with Office of Operations and with Juvenile Division leadership, who were in general agreement, and corrective actions have already been implemented or in progress, and they include updating policy to align written guidance with current practices and eliminate procedural ambiguity, exploring integration of the juvenile diversion tracking system within RMS to reduce dual data entry and improve data integrity, conducting a comprehensive review of diversion cases to ensure required documentation is present, establishing a tracking mechanism to ensure criminal filings occur within the required timelines when a juvenile fails diversion, and conducting a mid-year validation review in accordance with the Detective Bureau to assess on the low compliance objectives. So based on the corrective measures implemented and planned, Audit Division believes that these actions will significantly improve documentation controls, they're going to strengthen accountability, and they're going to increase overall compliance moving forward. And I'm prepared to answer any questions from the board, along with our partners from Detective Bureau, Office of Operations, and Juvenile Division. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any questions from our commissioners? Commissioner Scobin?
Yeah, and thank you for the report. You had touched on the low percentage meeting standards, the completion of juvenile diversion program documents, and later on it shows on the kind of what next that information has been disseminated. Can you provide any specificity on what actions we feel we're going to implement to improve that result?
Absolutely. In fact, if I think Office of Operations is best aligned to answer that, since it's their shop.
So we've already updated the special order, so that's going to make a huge difference. And regarding the objective 1A, where the compliance is 24%, that objective includes the review of 5 documents within one package. And those 5 documents are Juvenile Arrest Diversion Program Agreement, LAPD Juvenile Arrest Diversion Program Referral, the IR, which is the investigative report, probation status and arrest history printouts, and a notice of noncompliance. So Office of Operations auditors bifurcated each package, and we looked at what was the root cause of the problem. And it turns out that where we were failing a little bit more was on the investigative report not being attached to the package. So that was 36%, and that was 36 compliance out of 100. And then the probation status and arrest history printouts, the officers were reviewing that the juveniles did not have any prior probation status or arrest history. However, they were not printing out that documentation to evidence. So that was another failing on our part. So the compliance rate with that was 37 out of 100, which brought us at 37%. So now with the updates to policy, it clearly specifies that the officers shall print out these documents and include them in the package.
And just out of curiosity, in those packets, is there a standard set of forms that should be in there? And so someone's
Correct.
manually going through and making sure that they're in there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Also, I noticed the audit references 3 bureaus. Is there a reason is it presumed that West didn't have any?
West is included. In fact, I have their numbers in front of us for this particular objective, and they actually did fairly well compared to some of the other bureaus. So I believe they just weren't highlighted for that particular section.
Okay, because my follow-up was, if they didn't have any issues, was there anything, that we can learn from there to help maybe implement in other bureaus as best practices?
One of the, in conducting our methodology for attacking that particular objective, we wanted to make sure that we could actually look to see where people were being successful and where they weren't. And so we included in our addenda, we actually have a chart of each individual division that says which ones are in compliance and which ones weren't and what extent. And we provided that to Office of Operations, and they've been able to be very targeted and use their resources as wisely as possible to try and go after the divisions that may have been fallen short. And so that's one of our methodologies in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tabor?
Thanks, sir. Excited to see the report show up on our agenda. Early in my life, I chaired a juvenile diversion program in the South Bay, so now to see it from the other side. My first question is, with respect to responsibility to the juveniles that enter into diversion, are the officers or detectives responsible for collecting the data from the juveniles about their participation in the program, about their experience in the program, or are the juveniles responsible to bring that information then in as a part of their completed program? Sort of describe that to me.
Good morning, sir. Commander Mastic for Detective Bureau. The department is contracted with the Department of Youth Development with Los Angeles County, and all the community-based organizations are subcontractors of DYD. So we get our information back from DYD on if they successfully completed it, if they had any challenges with it, if they were unsuccessful in that, and we also get the information back if they had failed to complete it, and that would bring us into the phase where you complete the criminal investigation, submit it for prosecution. It's supposed to be completed within 30 days.
Do we get any client check information from the young people about their experience with a particular program, whether they thought it was effective or what's their time or what's?
Really, it's more anecdotal from the juvenile. We're kind of, we're seen as the enforcement arm. So the radio call comes out, we respond to the radio call, we conduct an investigation, complete the report, but we don't process the report. We hold it and refer them out for juvenile diversion. So no, we don't get the direct feedback from the children, youthful offenders, unless they enter the criminal justice system a second time.
And are we seeing much recidivism in terms of those who go through diversion and come back, or are we seeing success that they're?
It's a mixed lot. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but many juvenile offenders who participate in the program we don't see again as juveniles. But I don't have the exact numbers in front of me today.
All right. And just with respect to the sort of follow-on question of earlier, the completion of the packets for each individual that come back, how are we seeing them across? I saw the report, and I'm just wondering, are we seeing a broad participation throughout the divisions, or are we seeing more in, say, South LA than we see in the Valley, or how does that look in terms of participation in the diversion and completion of the diversion process?
Well, there is specific criteria to be included in the diversion process, and the policy was just recently updated to kind of clarify exactly who can be in the diversion process. So there's, no violent crime. There's the new order that came out. Actually, if I can turn that over to Office of Operations, they can explain the details of that.
Yeah, to that end, I saw the comment in the report that some were being referred even though their particular crime was outside of the eligibility list. And so my questions following was going to be, how are we responding to that, and what's?
I think the lieutenant can speak on that. There were some mistakes in coding those crimes where they would have been eligible had the crime been coded appropriately. And Lieutenant Spavoto can explain specifically on that.
So we highlighted two specific cases. One was a criminal threats. The other was a sexual assault. And on their face, those are scary titles, and they're serious crimes. But when we actually looked into the cases, and I can't go into the details of the cases because they are juvenile involved or
Understood.
public, obviously. However, when you look at the cases, you realize that those are cases where the watch commander used discretion and absolutely should have. In the case of the sexual assault, it was a child-on-child sex incident that should only have included 2 victims, not a suspect. And so it was misclassified as a sexual assault crime and was not. In the case of the criminal threats, it occurred in the school, and it was really just some banter back and forth, maybe some bullying that got escalated due to parental involvement. And it was one of those situations where we empower our detectives and watch commanders to use common sense. Common sense was used in that case. And the new policy further clarifies what can and cannot be diverted. So we've taken some of the ambiguity out of it and some of the human element out and tried to make it more specific.
All right. I have no further questions.
Anything further, Commissioner Scobin? All right. Officer Garcia, you didn't say anything.
Ma'am, I was waiting for my turn. Madam President, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here, Lieutenant, and everyone else that's here. And thank you to my commissioners for very thoughtful questions. I guess we'll see you back here in about a year with the audit of 2025, 2026. Is that correct?
We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
And I have the pleasure of delivering the next one as well. So.
All right. We look forward to it.
For item 4B, the recommended board action is to approve the department's report. Do we have a commissioner to make the motion?
There is a motion. There is a motion to approve the department's report.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We now have agenda item 4C, audit number 25-005, medical inability to meet firearm qualification standards.
Now I'll provide a brief overview of the medical inability to meet firearm qualification standards audit, which was conducted in accordance with the department's 2025 annual audit plan. And once again, I'm Lieutenant Sean Svoboda from Audit Division. Next to me are representatives from Personnel Division and from Office of Operations, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Brian Taft, Commanding Officer, Personnel Division.
Commander Gisela Espinoza, Community Engagement Group.
So this audit examined whether department policies and procedures related to medical exempt employees who are unable to meet firearm qualification standards are being consistently applied, documented, and enforced. These controls are very critical to ensuring public safety, officer accountability, and compliance with department policy and legal requirements. Now, given the operational and liability implications of an officer carrying a firearm while medically restricted or unqualified, this audit focused on documentation controls, on notification timelines, chain of custody procedures, and reinstatement safeguards. The audit tested 7 objectives in 3 primary areas, which include physician's notes for medically exempt officers during each required 30-day period, compliance with 30-day notices when employees failed to qualify, orders to relinquish duty firearms and police identification cards, documentation that city-issued firearms and police identification cards were surrendered, issuance of restricted police identification cards, and reinstatement procedures, which included rescinded physician notes and firearm qualification receipts. And the audit identified low compliance in 4 objectives: 63% compliance for physician's notes for each 30-day period, 24% compliance for officers served with a 30-day notice, 78% compliance for officers turned in city-issued firearm and police identification card, and 63% compliance for officers issued a restricted police identification card. Audit Division ended up meeting with Personnel Division, Office of Operations, and other affected bureaus. Management was in general agreement with the findings, and they've initiated the following corrective actions, which include implementing standardized tracking mechanisms for the 30-day medical notes and qualification notices, requiring use of unified interdepartmental correspondence form to document firearm relinquishment and restricted ID issuances, clarifying chain of custody procedures for city-issued firearms, updating department manual language to strengthen supervisory accountability and documentation requirements, and conducting quarterly reports and validation reviews to monitor ongoing compliance. Now, based on these corrective measures that have been implemented and are actually underway, Audit Division believes that these actions are going to significantly improve documentation integrity, supervisory oversight, and also sustain compliance with firearm qualification standards. I am prepared to answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant. Commissioner Tabor, any questions? Commissioner Scobin? I don't have any questions except to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was very thorough, and I think that's it, right? All right, thank you.
The recommended board action is to approve the department's report for item 4C. Do we have a commissioner to make the motion?
There's a motion to approve the department's report.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now have item 4D, traffic enforcement alternatives supplemental report.
Good afternoon to both of you. All right, let's have you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Terry Bowers again.
And good afternoon, I'm Captain Shannon White of the Strategic Planning and Policies Division.
Captain.
So we are returning with the request for the expansion of the charts, and we have those. So that was on February 3rd when we presented the department's report in response to recommendation number 3 of the City Council's joint report from the Transportation and Public Safety Committees. And then at that time, the board requested additional information regarding pretext stops. So the report before you today provides information on pretext stops conducted between April 1st, 2022 and December 31st, 2025. And what I'm going to do is initially just give you quick summaries of the charts so you have some idea. Hopefully you've seen them. And then we're prepared to go into detail on any of the charts, all of the charts, if that's what you want. But I think it would be helpful just to give the summary of what's included in these charts first, and then we'll move from there, if that's.
I think that's
okay.
that's the right approach, because this is a supplement to that February
Right,
report.
right.
So,
But if you want to return to anything in the past for clarification, we're at your pleasure.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. You
So-
may proceed,
okay.
Mr. Bowers.
First of all, table number 1 provides a breakdown of pretext stops by bureau and by race. So that's pretty specific. And then table number 2 provides the racial demographics by bureau based on the 2020 census data. And we also included suspect demographic data in table number 3 because that informs the racial demographics as far as a total context. Population demographics are often used when discussing potential disparities in pretext stops, but as pretext stops are used as part of investigative and crime suppression efforts, the suspect demographics help provide more details of the environment.
Excuse me, Mr. Bowers, I hate to interrupt you.
Oh, sorry.
They can't hear you at the back end. So I'm
Okay.
going to ask you to please put that
I will
microphone
move it up. I
forward.
apologize.
Yeah, closer to you.
Could
and-
I
and
repeat?
Speak into it. Yeah, speak into the mic.
Okay, my apologies. Table number 1 provides a breakdown. Is that okay? Okay. Okay in the back? All right, thank you. Table number 1 provides a breakdown of pretext stops by bureau and race. Table number 2 provides the racial demographics by bureau based on the 2020 census data. And then, as I mentioned, we also include the suspect demographic data in table number 3 to provide additional context for the department stops. Population demographics are often used when discussing potential disparities in pretext stops, but as pretext stops are used as part of investigative and crime suppression efforts, the suspect demographics help provide a more complete picture of the environment in which these stops occur. Table number 4 identifies the top 10 violation codes associated with pretext stops from 2022 through 2025. It doesn't show a complete picture because sometimes you get extraordinary discoveries that can either lead to investigative information to solve one crime or multiple crimes. And of course, that's just one stop as far as calculating percentages or numbers or anything like that. It's just impossible to quantify that because of the variety and the extraordinary value of some of these stops. Just as an example, the Oklahoma City bombing case, that suspect was apprehended as a result of this type of stop. Otherwise, he might have gone on and hit another federal building. So you just never can predict what you're going to find, and it's sometimes much more meaningful than a mere percentage. For comparison, the top 10 violation codes in which a search was conducted are shown in tables 5 and 8, along with the evidence recovery rates and the race of the individuals involved. Evidence recovery is further broken down by bureau and race in tables 9 through 12. Lastly, as requested, table number 13 shows pretext stops by bureau according to the time of day. The hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. constitute daytime activity, and from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. represent the nighttime segment. So we'll open up for any of your specific questions on any of the charts.
Thank you, Mr. Bowers. Let's hear from Commissioner Scobin or Commissioner Tabor. Commissioner Tabor, any questions, any comments?
So, thank you for the report and the level of detail within the report. What if any, activity with respect to training or at roll calls, has been generated around the report? Is it useful data for example, in a roll call for describing potential opportunity throughout the day of officers as they go about their duties, or is this, or is it even shared? I guess let's start with the first question. Is it shared at roll call? Is this something that this information something that officers should be aware of as well as the broader public?
So, sir, thank you for asking that question. I'd like to remind people for background, the initial report that we made was in response to a council motion seeking insight from the department about pretext stops. So insofar as discussion of pretext stops goes on at roll call, it's more focused and aligned with the policy and making sure that officers understand what the policy is, and then giving them regular timely information about crimes in the area so they understand who they're looking for or the vehicles. I do want to thank the commission for working with the OIG's office to endeavor to have a deep dive on our pretext stops and an audit. We're looking forward to seeing what those results are, as obviously that will give us something else to work with and determine if there's other actions that can be taken internally. But at this time, our real focus is making sure that we're responsive to council and their motions with the anticipated subcommittee hearing or ad hoc committee hearing this Friday.
Thank you.
And of course, we had a pre-meeting with the IG, and we will continue to cooperate and share ideas.
Yeah, Commander or Captain White, thank you for bringing up the Office of the Inspector General. I know that they did prepare a study. And Mr. Barragan, could you briefly tell us about that?
Yeah, so in response to my joining the department and overseeing the audit section, I decided that after considering the issues that are of concern, to self-initiate an audit of pretextual stops within the department. And so we're going to be looking at more recent data and providing analysis. And for example, understanding the policy, reviewing body-worn video, recall of the incidents to provide findings and potential recommendations. So that'll be forthcoming, and we are working with the department to make sure we have an accurate picture, and that'll be presented to you at some point in the future. I can put forth a date on that in a future meeting. Thank you.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. Commissioner Scobin, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a question. Per the policy in 2022 about the necessity to have articulation, for my own edification, if there's articulation of a more serious crime, wouldn't that stop be considered probable cause versus pretext? Can you maybe help me understand the difference there?
Okay, so for this, it's with pretext stops, it's about an understanding of when did the officer make the determination that they wanted to stop the car for a more serious crime. And so there are times when that happens after the stop, and that would just be reasonable suspicion that they developed during the process of a regular traffic stop. When we're looking at pretext stops, however, this is an officer saying that I have enough information that they probably actually could just make a reasonable suspicion stop. Howsoever, the probable cause related to the traffic stop puts them on a stronger legal footing. And so that is part of what our overall discussion is with council, is an understanding that this is actually a higher standard. The stop isn't in and of itself completely lawful because it is for a traffic violation. The officer could have just stopped for the reasonable suspicion, but again, they're utilizing the traffic stop to give them cause to be there. So with that said, we do feel that the department's policy brings up the officer's performance to a standard higher than what is required by the court.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain. Following up on what Commissioner Scobin talked about, the articulation and the reasonable suspicion for the stop, what is being employed now is articulation before the stop, right? And articulation after the stop as to what created this reasonable suspicion. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The officers have the option to withhold the actual reasonable suspicion they had related to a crime, a broader crime, from the person that they're stopping. They are obligated to let them know the reason for the traffic stop, but the policy does allow for them to articulate that on body-worn video, either before they approach the vehicle or afterward. It's also represented in their disposition for the call, or the traffic stop, my apologies.
I find that to be incredibly important, especially with the history that we know regarding pretext stops. But another question that I have is, what exactly is the problem that we are trying to solve with all of this? There's a lot of graphs, a lot of work went into this, but what exactly is the problem?
So historically for the city, there have been areas where people feel that they are overstopped. When you talk to community members, they will say that people feel as though we're fishing with a wide net. And in places where people are being stopped repeatedly, let's say that you have a vehicle that you don't have the funds in order to fix the equipment violation. So it does get stopped by different officers on different days who are working off of the same information as they travel through that same community. because they had the same roll call. But for the community member, what they're seeing is that I've been stopped multiple times. And for their mindset, it's understandable that that then creates concern and mistrust with the department. And so that's where we talk about the importance of procedural justice, why it is important for the officers to act with care as they're moving through the stop, to show that they have respect for the person, to give them an opportunity for voice, to explain as much as they can. There are times when it does come down to simply stating that it does match a vehicle description. I've seen that on the videos where the officers have offered to show them this is what I've been provided in roll call. But it remains a challenge because we understand how we're operating and what we are trying to do in order to preserve community safety, but I can't discount people's lived experience. Ultimately, the challenge that we're trying to navigate with this is not only the fact that pretext stops in and of themselves allow for further investigation of crimes from that time that we are first have a crime reported to the time that we have a warrant in the system for the vehicle. That can be extensive, and we want the officers to continue to work the problem and be proactive. The other part of this to note is that the impact of traffic safety in the city. Unfortunately, there is a lot of road violence, is what the community calls it. We see more people killed on the roadways than we do it from homicides in the city each year. It's important that we continue to enforce traffic laws of all levels, whether they're pretext or not, in terms of the nature of the stop, because ultimately that behavior helps other people recognize there's a potential that they'll be stopped. I think we all understand that when we see people pulled over at the side of the road, we naturally check, am I slowing down? Is my seatbelt on? If the phone's in my hand, maybe I should put it down. And so these are things that it's important that we continue to encourage officers to use every tool at their disposal, not only in being able to prevent or proactively address crime, but to also help in our traffic safety.
Thank you.
Also, again, as I mentioned, it's just impossible to determine how valuable some of these stops have been at preventing multiple crimes and also in solving horrendous crimes sometimes. And that should be preserved.
Captain White, I really appreciate your explanation to my simple question. It was very thorough, and it provided me with a better overview of this report and the traffic enforcement alternatives. I think we've addressed the supplemental report that was requested in April. Do you agree, Commissioner Scobin? Okay. We don't have two commissioners here, so I can't ask them, but I think that additional supplemental the supplemental questions have been addressed. Terry Bowers, thank you so much for your work on this as well. All right, thank you.
The recommended board action for 4D is to accept the department's report and to transmit to City Council. Do we have a commissioner to make the motion?
The motion is to approve the department's report and transmit to the City Council.
And do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. We now move on to 4E, relative to officer-involved shooting or in custody deaths or injury, upper body control holds, use of force incidents. And we have Captain Pluggy.
Good afternoon, Captain Plug.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, Inspector General, Chief, Executive Director, and City Council. I'm Matt Pluggy. I'm the Commanding Officer of Critical Incident Review Division. Revisions to the carotid restraint and chokehold policies are being proposed today. Specifically, the revisions are being proposed to align the language of department policy with that of Government Code Section 7286.5. The substance of the policy remains the same. Carotid restraints and chokeholds remain unauthorized, and any application is investigated as a categorical use of force incident. And before I get to the revisions, just a brief history and reminder. In 1982, the Los Angeles Police Department prohibited the use of the chokehold to include bar arm controls. That same year, the upper body control hold techniques, known as the modified carotid, full carotid, and lock carotids, were elevated as an authorized use of force technique that was permitted only in those situations where deadly force could be utilized. In June of 2020, the Los Angeles Police Department placed a moratorium on the use of the range of carotid restraint techniques. 1 month later, in July of 2020, the department rescinded the use of all carotid restraint control holds, rendering the use of these techniques to be no longer authorized by the department. Months later, in January 2021, Assembly Bill 1196, codified in Government Code 7286.5A, prohibited all law enforcement agencies across the state, from authorizing the use of carotid restraints or chokeholds. The proposed policy today affects 5 manual sections related to Government Code Section 7286.5. Those 5 manual sections are as follows. Volume 3, Section 40920. The proposal removes the notes that are listed in the manual section, defining carotid restraints and chokehold, and in its place, it references Volume 3, Section 79205, which is a definitional section. The purpose of this modification is to reduce the redundancy in our manual and to ensure one consistent definition exists. Volume 3, 792.05, as referenced above, this section provides an updated definition and terminology to be consistent with the Government Code. Specifically, it removes the term upper body control hold and includes modified carotid, full carotid, and locked carotid. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to be more precise with the language and again align with the Government Code 7286.5, subsection A. The third manual section is Volume 3, Section 796.01. Again, that removes the term upper body control hold and replaces it with all carotid restraint and chokehold use of force incidents. This maintains consistency with the language and remains in alignment with Government Code 7286.5A. Volume 4, Section 214.50 removes the note that repeated the definition found in Volume 3, Section 792.05. This reference to 792.05, again, eliminates redundancy and ensures that there's consistent definitions across the manual sections. The final section, Volume 4, Section 648.07, again, it makes the language referencing the prohibited techniques consistent with Government Code 7286.5 and ensures consistency throughout the manual by removing the term upper body control holds and retaining the terms modified carotid, full carotid, or locked carotid hold and chokehold. And that is the proposal and the end of my presentation.
Thank you, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Scobin?
Just quick, do the changes impact anything other than the carotid restraint and chokeholds?
No, the changes really do just bring the language into alignment with the Government Code and makes, it really just increases efficiency and reduces redundancy in our manual section, because as you read it, you'd see the definition for carotid restraint or upper body control holds multiple times throughout the manual in the different volumes. So this brings it, it reduces the redundancy and increases efficiency.
I think, Chief, in general, I think whenever we're considering changes, it's important that we fully understand every change. I think to do so, it's important to see the existing document and proposed changes. For future changes, can the department provide red line versions of the document
Sure.
in which changes are proposed?
Absolutely, yeah.
Appreciate
Do you have that handy?
I have the old sections and the new sections that I'm glad to provide to you if you'd like to say. It's annotated with my notes that I used to prepare for the presentation, but certainly we can give you the old section, or I can do some research and get the red line versions if we have them.
Yeah, I just
I'm
think
sure we do.
moving forward,
Okay.
I just think it'll be
Okay,
a
perfect.
cleaner way, easier way to look at what was and what's
Yeah,
new.
it's a good idea.
Sure, happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Tabor, any questions? Okay, well, I think I don't have any further questions. I'm glad that this clarification was made. So, Captain, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
The recommended board action for item 4E is to approve the department's report. Do we have a commissioner to make that motion?
I'll move that we approve the department's report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Thank you. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss agenda items 5A1 and 5A2 in accordance with Government Code 54957. Madam President, please note for the record that the commission has concluded its work in closed session. We're now back in open session. We'll have a report out by the executive director.
So, closed session agenda, item 5A, 1 and 5A 2. At the regular meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners on March 3rd, 2026, during the closed session, the board made the following findings, in each case by a 3-0 vote. So 5A1, officer-involved shooting, case number 009-25. For tactics, tactical debrief, 2 sergeants 1 and 1 police officer 3. For drawing and exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 3. And for lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 3. And then moving on to case, item 5A2, officer-involved shooting, case number 011-25. For tactics, tactical debrief, 1 police officer 3. For drawing and exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 3. And for lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 3. And that concludes the report.
With no other items on the agenda, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.